McKinnon is in at running back. First down and goal to go. Play action fake. Right side throw. Touchdown! Kansas City! McCole Hardman with the catch on the right side. A 3-yard touchdown pass in overtime. Kansas City wins the game. 25-22. And the Chiefs Kingdom has started its own history class. Because for the first time in 6,944 days, there is a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs.
The voice of the greatest of all time, Mitch Holthus, calling the greatest of all time, Patrick Mahomes, finding McCole Hardman in the end zone for the Chiefs' game-winning touchdown to win Super Bowl 58. Hey now, this is 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, all here with you for the next 4 hours on a Super Bowl Victory Monday edition of the program. We've got so much to get to today. Chiefs are champions again. First time in 19 years the NFL has a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, the longest such drought in the history of the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, MVP again. He was absolutely sensational throughout most of the game and certainly down the stretch. Heroic moments by guys like Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice with a couple big plays. The defense that has been great all year long, but so many unsung, under-the-radar heroes who came up and made big plays. We'll talk about all of them over the course of the show today. The 49ers did what they have done in this era of the San Francisco 49ers, and despite all of it, bad decisions, too many miscues, they still had a chance. But having a chance and being good enough to win is not good enough against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. That is just further proof last night that is the case. You have got to be at your absolute best, and even that is not always enough to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. What a game. We want your thoughts. We want your takes, your reaction to the Kansas City Chiefs winning Super Bowl 58. Text line number 785-272-9429. YouTube comment section as well. We are live streaming the show on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. What a game. What a night. And again, we are going to break it all down over the course of the show today. We will hear from Patrick Mahomes a little bit later on this hour. He spoke this morning, gravelly voiced, myself a little bit gravelly voiced today as well. Patrick Mahomes certainly was this morning. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up in the 4 o'clock hour today. Matt Verderame is going to join us. What a day for Matt to debut the Matt Verderame show.
Yeah.
How about that? So we will get to all of that, your texts, your comments on YouTube, all that today. But it starts, guys, with just greatness. And that's what this team, what this game was. This was a great Super Bowl, a really, really good Super Bowl. And I thought both teams played really well. The effort was absolutely there for both teams. But it's the word that was used so often in the lead up to this game, why people were picking the Chiefs. We used it on our YouTube reaction show last night. You can go find that on our YouTube channel right now, our Chiefs Instant Reaction Show. Kansas City and the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, this era of Chiefs football, it is inevitable. And while I think the 49ers played, again, a pretty good game overall, they didn't run the ball as effectively as they normally do. And more than anything, I think that is a credit to the Chiefs defense and answering the bell after the Niners moved the ball really well in that first quarter. But I thought Purdy, while he was just kind of middling in the second and third quarters, I thought he started and ended the game actually playing very good football. Kyle Shanahan, this was not as egregious, I think, certainly as Super Bowl 51 or even Super Bowl 54. The decision to take the ball instead of to kick it off to start overtime, I kind of get his rationale, but also, like, dude, look who's on the other side. Look who you're coaching against. Look who that opposing quarterback is. Do you really think you're going to get to a third possession? All of that together, they played well enough to win. But the Chiefs defense, which has carried this team for so much of this year, they were great. They were absolutely great. And honestly, if I was picking an MVP other than Patrick Mahomes, you know who's getting that honor? 22. That's going to Trent McDuffie because he was incredible, even with the penalty late. He was incredible. I thought Karlaftis was good. I thought Chris Jones was great. Travis Kelce, again, on the offense, came up huge in the second half. and you've got the best player in the world on your team. And as long as you have the best player in the world on your team, you can beat anyone, you can win any game, you can win any Super Bowl, and we saw that to a T last night.
If you followed my betting thing about Kelsey, you would have been right on.
You're right on.
I mean, I did that research for you. You would have won some money. He had 9 catches. I think I set the over at like 6.5
catches, 8.5
and I said he was going to hammer the over.
So every championship is different, even in a run of championships like the Chiefs have now put together 3 Super Bowl championships in the last 5 years. And this title was not about overpowering teams with more talent or overwhelming teams with more firepower. This was a championship that the Chiefs won because they know how to be champions. This is the point at which all the great dynasties reach, where sometimes you win one on sheer will. Sometimes you win one on guts and belief and all of the things that you gain and all of the things that you accumulate through years of championship experience. It doesn't come to everybody. Only a select few teams in the history of sports get to a point where you can win a championship because you're a champion, or being a champion makes you a champion again. If you want a recent example in sports, go back to that title the Warriors won 2 years ago in the NBA, well past their dynastic era, their veteran players well into their 30s, the wrong side of their primes a little bit. But again, winning a championship, putting together a run, knowing what you have to do to put one foot in front of the other all the way through a playoff run and just gut out a championship. All of the great championship dynasties in history. You want a contemporary football example? That Patriots Super Bowl win over the Rams. That was probably the least of the Patriots teams that ever won a Super Bowl, but they won that game because they knew how to game plan. They knew how to execute. They were not overawed by the moment. They took what the game gave them, and they were champions that year in beating the Rams because they knew how to be champions. And that is the point at which we've arrived now with the Kansas City Chiefs. That they are champions because they know how to be champions. They have the heart of a champion. They have the pride of a champion, that refusal to be knocked off of their perch, that attitude of, you have to come and take it from us. This is ours by birthright, and you have to come and take it. It's a psychological edge that you take into games simply by virtue of what's on the side of your helmet and what's on your resume, what's on your career CV. And most of all, it's the monster under the bed, right? It's number 15. It's the guy that 31 other teams don't have, and you do. And those things, you throw them all in a blender, and that is what makes a champion. And that is why this team is now an era-defining dynasty in the National Football League.
And I'm glad you bring it up like that, because I saw this last night. We saw it for literally 2 decades with the New England Patriots. Why do teams do this against New England? Why do teams abandon certain things? Why don't they try these things? Why do they get so conservative? Or why do they take unnecessary risks? It could have gone either way.
Why do you throw the ball at the 1-yard line? Those kinds of things.
We have seen similar things now in recent years, including just in this postseason for teams facing the Chiefs. Baltimore, John Harbaugh confirmed after the AFC Championship game, well, the game plan was to run the ball. We wanted to run the ball, but then the game started and we felt like we couldn't. You're the best running team in the NFL. You're one of the most efficient running teams that we've had in recent memory in the NFL, and you go away from it. Why? Why do you do that? And Kyle Shanahan, again, a little bit different in Super Bowl 54 because the Chiefs hadn't won one yet, but certainly in yesterday's game. And I know the running game wasn't great because I've heard a lot of that. Well, McCaffrey, why not him? You probably could have used him more, certainly in the passing game, but also the Chiefs defense was playing really well. But
he averaged less than 4 yards a rush.
Right, exactly.
It's not like he was up there. It's not like it was James Cook in the Buffalo game up over 6 yards a carry for the first half.
Exactly.
The Chiefs got a handle on him. Mike Pennell played this game like one of the premier run-stuffing defensive tackles in all of football. Leo Chanel had the highest PFF grade of any single player in the game.
Good. Deservedly.
Yeah.
You have that.
He blocked that kick too.
Yeah. He did everything well. It was a collective effort that, again, that's the kind of thing that when you trust your coaches, you trust yourself in the situation that you're in, and you just have that ineffable belief that this is a championship team and we're going to find a way. I'm going to make the play. The guy behind me is going to make the play. This much maligned wide receiver who the last time we saw him touch the ball, he was fumbling out of the end zone and almost costing us the divisional round game, is going to catch the Super Bowl winning touchdown in overtime. That's the belief of a champion, and that's what these Chiefs have.
He didn't even know he caught the game-winning touchdown. Did you hear what he said post-game?
Yeah, so I think he said it when he had his own, he said it on stage with Jim Nantz. He said it in his post-game media. He told it to ESPN, and Scott Van Pelt said, hey, man, I blacked out. And if, like, people say that, and oh, yeah, okay, sure.
If you
Go watch the play, because he walks into the end zone, holds the ball up. He looks lost. Like, he looks like he's scared. Like, what do I do? And then suddenly he turns around and, oh my God.
Mahomes is right there.
Arms.
The light bulb went on there in a big way for McCole Hardman. But
the point you brought up is the exact opposite happens to teams that play the Chiefs, right?
Yes.
Like, you go into panic mode so quickly and you feel like you have to outsmart them because you can't beat them otherwise. And that leads to, well, also the fact that the 49ers apparently didn't know the overtime rules, but you make rash decisions. You go away from your normal game plan. You go away from your bread and butter. You change things up. And I know that the game situation dictates that stuff too. Like the 49er defense, I give them a lot of credit. They played a really good game. Chase Young, who was getting ripped apart here and everywhere else all week, he played a great game. Randy Gregory came up with some big plays. Bosa was great.
Bosa could have had an MVP case if the 49ers won the game. Eric Armstead was really, really good, even playing on a bum wheel. That's been nagging at him for the last month or so.
I thought Warner did too after
Fred
Greenlaw got hurt.
Was super, especially in coverage. I mean, he was everywhere. They had guys fill in for Greenlaw after his Achilles went early in the game that performed well. They did. They had a bunch of guys. Diamador Lenore forced the fumble on. This is not one where I look at the 49ers and say, oh, man, they piddled down their leg. Oh, man, they were bad. Oh, man, they choked. Oh, man, they were shy of the moment. They were just shy of the Chiefs.
Yep.
That's the measuring stick.
And
I think it all comes back to the game wouldn't have gone to overtime if it played out the way that it did had Moody's PAT not been blocked by Chanel.
Yeah, I mean that is huge.
Played key into the game.
And the Chiefs in this game, and as weird as this says, and I hate to say this so early in breaking down a Super Bowl, I give credit to the officials because I thought Bill Vinovich's crew did an incredible job. I really do. I think that's one of the best, not just one of the best Super Bowl officiating jobs, that's one of the best NFL officiating jobs I can remember. I mean, it was almost, save for one terrible spot on a Travis Kelce catch.
There was a couple spots, though.
A couple that were iffy.
Yeah, they weren't perfect. They didn't bat 1,000, but they let the guys play. They weren't part of the story. So often this year, an officiating crew has been the part of a game's narrative, and they were not part of the story last night. They were just in the background, which is exactly what you wanted officiating.
They called that defensive holding.
Well, it was the right call.
It was the right call, but I saw all over Twitter, you don't make that call. You don't make that. It was clearly the right call. I mean, you go watch it again. That was clear.
But you weren't around last year for the end of Super Bowl 57, but there was, I think some of that was a little bit of a callback to
probably
the James Bradbury. I know I intentionally made a callback to that on Twitter last night, that there was a callback to the whole, you can't call that in that situation, which was nonsense last year, and it was nonsense this year. Trent McDuffie, who had a otherwise brilliant game, made a bad play there. But again, the officials, they were background noise.
And the Chiefs didn't give the officials a chance to make a call like that, because the one penalty in overtime, clear penalty on McDuffie, who otherwise was just perfect for the entire game. There were none of those dumb mistakes. Yes, you had the Pacheco fumble. And I heard an interesting note on the Athletic Football Show. I listened to their post game this morning, and they said, the Chiefs only ran 3 outside boundary perimeter runs the entire game. Something we had talked about so much going into the game. One of them was a tackle for loss. Then you had the Pacheco fumble on a blown blocking assignment by Noah Gray, which, again, we'll get to Noah Gray later, who mostly played well. And then you had the 9-yard gain late in the game that ended up being a huge play in the contest. But generally speaking, outside of the fumble, and Mahomes threw one really bad pass. The interception was a really bad throw.
Yeah.
But he was sterling other than that. They didn't make those really dumb mistakes, those crunch time moments where you just think, the Raider game, which has come up in the wake of it because Andy Reid has said now since the game, they hired a great coach in Las Vegas and their staff was great to us. And you know what? I told Antonio Pierce, thank you, because we needed that. You guys beat us up and down the field. We needed that moment. And honestly, I don't doubt Andy Reid when he says that.
No,
I certainly don't.
The NFL film season recap for the Chiefs is probably going to start with that game.
And it should.
And go from there, because that's really where the story begins. And it's so funny to say, they didn't make the crunch time mistake, because they actually kind of did. MVS ran 10 yards backwards after a catch in overtime and set him up in a 2nd and 14 instead of a 2nd and 4. And Chris Jones wanted to run on the field and strangle him with his own bare hands. But this was the difference, right? Throughout the season, those things festered. Those things bothered this team. Those things were those little slights, those little frustrations. They just couldn't let them go. What do they do on the very next play? Throw it again to MVS and pick up 8 and set him up in a makeable 3rd down, which they convert on the pass to Rashee Rice on the mesh route. The composure that this team found, I think that was the biggest thing in the wake of the Raider game, where you understand that mistakes are part of the game. Sometimes you throw a pick. Sometimes you fumble the football. Sometimes you feel like you've got a scoring opportunity and it goes by the wayside. But those things can't hang over you. You have to go and make the next play. And too often during the regular season, it felt like those things really just festered throughout games, really throughout the whole second half of the season. In the wake of that Raider game, I think was when they realized, look, we just can't let these things beat us. We can't be perfect. We are flawed in certain ways, but we have to have a next play mentality, focus on the next thing, have our heads together. And that's the mind of a champion right there. We've talked about the heart of a champion. We've talked about the soul of a champion. The mind of a champion is to say, all right, next play. Patrick Mahomes threw his hands up. He couldn't believe what MVS did. And then he goes right back to him on the next play, like nothing ever happened. And I don't know how to describe it. But when they did that, like you watch that play and it's like, oh my God, MVS, what are you doing? Of all times to make a bonehead play like that. When they went back to MVS on the next play, that was when I was fairly confident Mahomes was going to, with unlimited time and 4 downs to work with in that scenario, I'm pretty confident that Mahomes was going to go get it done. But that was the moment where I thought, okay, yeah, they're going to win. Like that was the moment for me. I knew they were going to win. And it's strange to say that about an 8-yard completion on 2nd and 14, but they're not going to let that bother them. Nope. They're on a mission. They are going to be uninterrupted. They are going to be unbothered. They are going to be unflappable. They're going to go be what they are. They're going to go be great.
I think I had 80 pages of a manifesto about Marquez Valdez-Scantling written between that loss of 4 and the next snap. I think in about 35 seconds, I had written more than I've written in the last 10 years combined.
Hey, shout out to Paul in the comments. What if I told you Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, MVS, McCole Hardman were the last 4 Chiefs to score touchdowns in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And so many different guys participated and made big plays in this game. We've run through them already. I thought Justin Watson had a very nice game as a receiver. You had Jalen Watson, who recovered that fumble on the punt that bounced off of Darrell Luter's back heel. I mean, just everyone had to do it. And I think another great example of that, of everybody playing a role and giving it their all to win this game, it's what Patrick Mahomes did with his legs. 2 zone reads with Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid dialing up legitimate zone reads with Patrick Mahomes, a guy who he refuses to sneak because of a once-in-a-million injury he suffered 4 years ago, is bananas.
These were pure triple option plays. I don't remember the last time. Actually, the last time I can remember the Chiefs running a play like that was when Mahomes got concussed in that divisional round game against Cleveland back in the 2020 playoffs.
Yep.
So they've stayed away from those plays too. Like, it's all about not putting Patrick Mahomes at risk. And they did. They ran triple option, took Joey Bosa completely out of those plays. We talked all week about the aggressiveness of that 49er defensive line. They didn't hit on the perimeter as much as I thought they were going to, but those plays were the way that they were able to exploit the aggressiveness of San Francisco, particularly Bosa up front. And Mahomes, the world's slowest fast guy, precisely as fast as he needs to be and no faster in every moment, huge plays. The 4th and 1, that was
Yeah.
the ball game.
And the thing about it too, 3 huge runs for first downs in this game. One of them he slid down. It was on the 4th down conversion, the second option keeper. He's staying up, man. He's fighting for yardage. He played that game like it was the first Chiefs Super Bowl. Like they've never been there before, or alternately, like it was the last time he was going to be there. That to me says a lot about him as a leader, him as a player, and this team as well. And I know it seems like a small thing, but to go into that moment saying, I am going to do everything that I can to make sure that we are in the best position to win this game. You want to talk about heart of a champion, mind of a champion? I think that 100% stands
It's a legacy
out.
drive right there.
Yes, absolutely. Here's the thing about Patrick Mahomes. We're going to talk about Pat Mahomes a lot over the next few days because he's the greatest player in the world. There's a desire, and I've said this a lot of times before, there's a desire in the NFL world because it is so popular and it's such a tribal thing to try to drag you back to the middle. Guys who aren't that great, you try to pull them up to the middle to make them sound so much better. It's like at the same time, it's the Patrick Mahomes and the Justin Fields theorem. Like, no, Fields is actually good. Or, well, actually, if you look at this completely made up stat that is fake, and I made it up in my head right now, Patrick Mahomes is actually just average. Don't let anyone tell you that he's not the greatest there is. And if you want to debate all-time greatness, do it, I guess. Fine, whatever. Brady won 7 Super Bowls and won with 2 different teams. Okay, fine, so be it.
It's all about rings. That's why Bill Russell is universally regarded as the greatest basketball player who ever lived.
Like, if you can't separate the fact that greatness by number of championships and best player are 2 different things, I'm really not interested in having a full-fledged conversation about football with you. This is the best to ever do it when it comes to playing the quarterback position. And I know he's only 7 years into his career, only 6 years as a full-time player, and I don't care. And I'm content to say that. And he is the best winner of this generation for sure. You want to talk about greatest winner ever? Sure. Yeah, give it to Brady. But this is greatness. And don't let the moment and don't let the fact that it's happening right now keep you from realizing this is greatness. And it's greatness that shows up. And I don't just mean like, oh man, this guy's great. Like this dude's awesome. No. Like all-time historic. They will talk about him 100 years from now. Great. Like the way that old timers revere, give me a name here. Give me I'm Jim Brown. The way old timers talk about Jim Brown, 60 years from now, that's how people are going to talk about Patrick Mahomes. Long after we are gone, that is how people are going to talk about number 15 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And you see it in moments like that, fighting for every extra yard, being down 10 in 4 different Super Bowls and winning 3 of them. That is insane.
Yeah, they went down by 10 again, and you didn't even flinch.
No.
You don't even flinch when they get down by that many. Even this year, with all of the woes that they had on offense, you don't even flinch because they've got 15, and he's going to figure it out. There was never a doubt, as Mahomes himself tweeted after the game, they would figure out a way to get things rolling. They would figure out a way to beat what the 49ers were showing them, because the 49ers did make some tweaks and they did play really well. And they did win a lot of one-on-one battles in the trenches for the better part of the game. You still just kind of had the feeling that 15 would get it done because he's Patrick Mahomes. We've never seen anyone like this. And there are 31 teams in the league that don't have him. And that's why the one who does has won back-to-back Super Bowls, becoming just the 9th team in NFL history to pull that trick off.
It's incredible, man. And we're witnessing it. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you get to live through it. And you get to say this guy is ours. He is all ours. It's incredible. And you guys are very, very lucky if you are a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Obviously, we have so much to get to recapping Super Bowl 58. We want your texts, 785-272-9429. We want your comments on the YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk is where you can find us on YouTube. We're going to hear from QB1 a little bit later on this hour, his post-game, his day after, morning after press conference from this morning. We'll hear from that a little bit later on. Coming up next, though, the moments that shaped the game. Obviously, the game-winning touchdown, that's your play of the game. What other key moments, what other key plays got us to where we are today and got the Chiefs to a Super Bowl victory? We'll give you some of our picks coming up right after this on a Super Bowl Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting started on 580 Sports Talk, Super Bowl Victory Monday. Brendan, Dan, Spencer here with you up until 6 o'clock today. Matt Verderame will join us later on in the show. We will also hear from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, what they had to say this morning coming up over the course of the show today. I want to get to this from a 785 texter, and we appreciate all your texts. Please send them in, 785-272-9429. So this texter, and I don't know your name, sir or madam. I appreciate you texting in. Since the start of the new year, since their first text into the show on January 2nd, this is their text to us in order. All caps. Taylor is a jinx, a plant. Kelsey is still dropsy. Ravens will win Super Bowl, and their QB will be the MVP. All caps again. Ravens win Super Bowl. Bills blew it. Should have threw to the guy halfway down the field. The romance will be over before summer. She set up the whole thing, not Kelsey. Kelsey, what a windbag. Chris Jones wins, and then San Fran by a field goal. Again, love you guys, all of you who text in, who comment in every single day. It makes the show. We would not be here without you guys. 785 texter, I would love to know if you send in those texts, how are you feeling today? I would really love to know that, especially because this same texter back in September tweeted or texted us, go Chris Jones, irreplaceable Jones, what a guy, all in the same afternoon. And then 1 week later, thank you, C. Jones, couldn't do it without you. I would love to hear from this texter today. 785, if you're out there, let us know your feelings today.
I'd also like to get your playoff picks for next year when we come around to it, so I can go the opposite way as you. And I guess I can't give him too much grief because I kind of thought the Ravens were going to.
Oh, I thought so too. Yeah, I think
Ravens.
That's fine.
Another texter says 49ers favorite to win next year over the Chiefs is insane.
Yeah, the odds are already out for next year. I saw Niners plus 450, Chiefs plus 750. I mean, that's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. And I don't know that the Chiefs will win it next year. The odds are historically they will not. It's never been done before, 3 in a row in the Super Bowl era. But
they want to do it. Pat said he wants to do it.
Hey,
I'm sure they do. It'd be wild if they came up and said, you know what, we've won 2. We're going to let somebody else have a chance. I'd like a January off.
We have another texter. Going to be tough to pick the team I want to root for next year's Super Bowl 59, Chiefs versus Packers. Hey, man, Brendan, I'll take that Super Bowl. Brendan, that was not me.
I saw your thumbs.
I think Brendan would somehow persuade our boss to let him go to New Orleans for the week and do the show live from there.
Hey, listen, there have been far less reputable outlets that have covered Radio Row. All right, let's just leave it at that. Again, your texts are welcome throughout the show. Your comments on the YouTube stream as well. A couple in here from YouTube. Our guy Tyler, who says best defense Mahomes has ever had. Tyler has been on that bandwagon all year.
He has beaten that drum from very early on in the season, and he has been consistently correct.
Vance also says, I will die on this hill. Tommy Townsend's punting was a major key. You could have given the MVP to him or Butker. I thought Townsend, good day for Townsend to have his best game of the year.
Yes. Yeah. Special teams.
Special teams make special teams, guys.
Huge factor in this game.
Huge.
Between Butker making that 58-yard field goal on a difficult hold, a difficult snap, a tough hold for Tommy Townsend to get down. He gets it down. He makes that kick. To recovering the muff punt on the punt that hit the heel of the up man for the 49ers.
Yeah.
To Richie James recovering his own muff punt, to the blocked extra point. The special teams advantage belong to the Chiefs, and those marginal things can be magnified in a game of this importance.
So keep sending your texts and your YouTube comments in. Let's get to this real quick because we want to hear from Patrick Mahomes in just a few minutes here. Give me a play from the game. Give me one. It could be one that has attracted a bunch of attention, maybe one that's a little bit under the radar. Don't pick the McColl touchdown that obviously won the game, but give me a play that you felt was one of the most significant that led us to the eventual Chiefs victory.
You go. Sorry.
3rd and 4 after the 2-minute warning of regulation. Everybody on the planet knows Steve Spagnuolo's sending pressure. Like everybody in the world. This is one of those, you have to be able to do what you want to do and what you do well, even when the other team knows that's what you're going to do. That's what great teams do. Everybody in the world Tony Romo babbled about a blitz coming and somebody bringing pressure like the entire time leading up to the play. If the 49ers convert the first down, there is a very good chance that Patrick Mahomes does not see the ball again.
Yep.
And if he does see the ball again, it's likely that it is with less than 40 seconds and no timeouts.
Mm-hmm.
This is a must-stop play for the Chiefs and their defense. And everybody in the stadium knows they're bringing a pressure. And the one thing you can't let happen if you're the offense is a free runner in the quarterback's face. And what is Steve Spagnuolo so good at getting? Free runners at the quarterback in situations like that. And what was Trent McDuffie on that play? A free runner at the quarterback. And how did he get there? It was so subtle. I didn't see it when I initially watched it, but you can see it when you watch the replay. It was just a little jab step backwards, like he was about to drop back into coverage.
Mm-hmm.
He timed it so perfectly so that on the snap, he took off like a rocket and was a free runner, disrupting the throw, knocking the ball down. Yes, San Francisco made the long field goal and took the lead, but with all that time and 2 timeouts, there was no way the Chiefs weren't going to score.
Mm-hmm.
At least send the game to overtime.
Yep.
That play, to me, was the biggest play of the game.
So in segment 1, I talked about Chanel's blocked field goal. That's Moody.
Extra point.
Yeah.
That's Moody kicking it really low. That's not what I think. It's got to be the catch that Kelsey had to get inside the red zone.
Huge.
As time was getting down, because I initially thought, I was like, are they just playing for the tie?
And playing for the long field goal?
Yeah. And then that one play happened. He gets it down in the red zone, and I'm like, they're going for a touchdown. They just unfortunately ran out of time in order to try to go in the end zone.
But that was massive, because as good as Butker has been, you worry about a kick that long. That was the greatest kicking game in Super Bowl history.
It was.
And that's not a joke or a debate. Like, it very clearly, 3 of the 4 longest field goals in Super Bowl history were all kicked last night. And credit to Moody, even with the one block, he was great.
Yeah.
And Harrison Butker was too. But yeah, that one was obviously huge. The other one I'll go with, let's go to overtime. Another Steve Spagnuolo blitz at the right moment. Juwan Jennings, I believe he was matched up on Snead, if I'm not mistaken, in that front corner of the end zone. He was alone on the right-hand side of the play. He beat him. He was there. That play was there. Chris Jones was in the backfield before you could blink. It was awesome. I was watching ESPN. I was watching NFL Primetime right after the game. Chris Berman and Booger McFarland were talking to a bunch of players. They had Pacheco and they had Chris Jones on the field. And I think it was Booger asked Chris Jones, like, hey, that last play, you got home on Purdy immediately. They had to throw it away. That might have been a touchdown. Juwan Jennings was open. What happened there? And Chris Jones said, I thought they were running a screen. I got through so quickly, I thought, oh no, because I thought they were running a screen and I had gotten too far upfield. No, he just had perfectly timed, perfectly aimed a shoot through the gap, got after Purdy, and Purdy even said it. You could see him mouth it or something close to it. They put the camera right on him after the incomplete pass. I believe he said he was there. So he was there. They had the play, but the Chiefs and that defense and the perfect scheme allowed Jones to break through. It was awesome. So much from the defense.
No sack for Chris Jones in the game. Still looking for his first career Super Bowl sack, but he was so impactful.
Yes.
And Purdy's numbers with pressure in his face were so much worse than his numbers with pressure coming off the edge. And who was the foremost bringer of interior pressure? Chris Jones. I mean, he was immense in that game. And yeah, it was a familiar refrain in last year's Super Bowl run. Maybe I didn't say it quite as much this season, but we'll run back an old favorite. When the Chiefs needed a big defensive play, it's always Chris Jones.
We will hear from QB1, and we'll get to some of your texts and YouTube comments coming up right after this on Super Bowl Victory Monday on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get to a couple texts here on our text line real quick. 785-272-9429, our 580 Sports Talk text line number. Brendan, Dan, Spencer here with you in studio today. One here from the 785. I have to suggest MVP this season is Harrison Butker for his consistency under pressure. 2 Super Bowl record kicks in one game. That's crazy. Yeah, he was so good.
Terrific year for Butker.
Another one from the 785. The blocked extra point has to be the key turning point. Without that block, there's no field goal trying to send the game into overtime. That's true. 4-point game. Totally different game. Every piece of strategy is obviously different from that point forward if it's 17-13 instead of 16-13. Another one asking if we will be covering the parade as credentialed media on Wednesday. I am going to give you I'm not so sure about that, but we are going to bring you anything good from the parade we're going to air. So anything we can cleanly play from Travis Kelce, from Big Red, from Mahomes, I bet you Chris Jones is going to have a lot to say. No doubt about that. Same texter says, better have some itchy dump button fingers. Yeah, that's going to be true. Have you seen some of the videos of the partying afterwards? Kelce and Taylor Swift looked like they were having the time of their lives last night.
I told you off the air earlier, so I went to Marshall. So did now injured reserve defensive back Najee Johnson. He was able to make the trip to the Super Bowl, obviously. And he was out there at the club afterwards. He was on Instagram Live, and he's like, yo, I'm like 5 feet away from T Swift.
That's so cool. That is so cool. We will talk about all the good, as well as a little bad and a little ugly from Super Bowl Sunday coming up in our 3 o'clock hour. We'll hear from Matt Verderame. Right now, though, why don't we hear from QB1? Patrick Mahomes, he had a press conference earlier today in Vegas, probably at least a little bit hungover. Let's hear what Patrick Mahomes had to say this morning.
Patrick, when you and some of the other guys, Travis, Chris, showed up yesterday, you were all wearing black. Was that a acknowledgement of kind of accepting the villain role? And was that something that you individually decided or collectively decided?
I wish we would have decided that together. I think it just kind of happened that way. We're in Vegas, you have to own your best attire, and having those blacks. And I wish I'd have been up there with Trav, because Trav, I feel like took it all the way over the top. But it was cool to see that we kind of had that unity coming in.
Go ahead, Adam. All right. Hey, Patrick, congratulations on last night. What you talked a little bit about after the game about getting ready for next year and trying to do it again. What would 3 straight mean to you? And I'll have another question, Ted.
Yeah, no, it's legendary. I mean, just to be able to, no one's ever done it. And we knew it's legendary to win back-to-back. I think 8 other teams had done it. We had heard it all week. We had talked to the guys about it, and we felt like we had the best opportunity that we had ever had to go out there and do that. And I fell short the year before. And so, I mean, all you could do is come back next year with a fresh mindset, knowing it's going to be even harder. We got to continue to play our best football. We'll celebrate these next few weeks, and then we'll get right back at it.
What does your team's place in history mean to you?
Yeah, it means a ton. Not only for me, but I think I know how hard these guys work. I know how hard these guys get after it. I know how hard the coaches work. I believe we're the hardest working team in the NFL. And for us, all that hard work to pay off, that's something that we always preach, is we believe we work for those moments, for those end-of-game moments, and we prepare ourselves for those. And to be able to have our stamp on this great NFL history is something that I'll never take for granted, and hopefully we can continue to let that thing go.
Morning, Patrick. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On the big win. So your playing style is often described as innovative and unpredictable. So if you had to compare it to an approach, a non-football activity, what would that be and why?
Man, that's a great question. I would say something like a top tier lawyer. I think that'd be the first thing that comes to my head. Someone that has to think on his feet, execute at the right time, and deal with high pressure situations.
Good morning. Congratulations to you on another amazing performance during the Super Bowl. The question for you is, take us to that halftime. You guys walk into the locker room, you're down 10-3. What's the overall message that you had to the team as well as Coach Reed during that moment?
Yeah, I think it was really cool. I mean, honestly, it was just be us. Nothing more, nothing less. Offensively, we knew we weren't playing our best football, but we felt like we weren't executing at a high level. Obviously, the 49ers have a great defense, and you don't execute, they're going to make stops. And we felt like everybody was playing hard. We just got to pick up our execution and continue to get better. And defense had kept us in the game. And so for us, we just said, be us. Let's be us out there. If we're going to go down, let's have fun. Let's enjoy it, and give everything we have, and we'll live with the results after.
Patrick, center aisle. How have you embraced the second phase of your career where you're off the rookie contract and it's going to be harder to get the pieces in place around you and you're not the upstart anymore? Now everybody's been coming for you.
Honestly, I think it's a tribute to the Coach Reed and Brett Veach and continue to bring great players in. I mean, if you look at our defense and how young they are, they're drafting great. They're finding these guys that they can bring in to play and develop, and our coaching staff is developing players. I mean, I always think to our DBs, I mean, we got like 5 or 6 guys that are in year 1, year 2, and then you have Snead. I mean, guys that continue to get better and better. And all you can do is just go to work every single day and try to bring guys along. I thought Rashee Rice did a great job this year, just continue to get better and better. And that's what great football teams need is guys that just keep coming into the culture that we have built here and continue to get better every single week. And I'll try to keep as much flexibility as I possibly can as far as the cap and stuff like that. But it's a credit to all the people I have around me.
Hey, Patrick, congratulations. What tangible lessons do you think you might have learned from this season, what was a challenging season, a challenging postseason, as you go into next year and try to do something that nobody's ever done and win that 3rd in a row?
I mean, I think always a challenge whenever you win. And what I've learned is how can you get better? How can you continue to get better? 'Cause that's what it takes. In this league, everybody gets better every single year. And so whenever you win a championship, you celebrate and you're like, let's just go do it again. And I think that was something that I learned from the first one that we lost when we tried to get the back-to-back is everybody was like, we're just going to run it back and do it again. This is what we're going to do. And I feel like we fell short that way. And so now let's get better. Let's find a way, whatever that small thing is, to get better at every single person individually. And then as a team, and let's just come with our best football and our best effort, and hopefully that's coming back, and we're able to be, I think it's New Orleans and on this podium again.
Patrick, congratulations. 2 quick questions. We saw you hit the ground last night after the game, after that touchdown happened. You just were on the ground with your hands on your head. What were the emotions you were feeling in that moment? Was it just relief? What were you feeling? And last night on the podium, you said Kansas City should never be an underdog. Chiefs should never be an underdog. Right now, already, day after the Super Bowl, they are not the favorites for next year. What are you telling people to bet on for the Chiefs for next year? That first part, I think it was just all the emotions. I mean, to win a football game like that and obviously to win the Super Bowl like that is something you dream of as a little kid. And so I was celebrating with my team. I started running. I didn't know where I was going. And finally just fell down. Hopefully someone found my helmet. But it was a lot of emotions and just gratitude, man. So thankful just to be able to be in that moment and enjoy that with my teammates. And then as far as the underdog thing, man, I mean, it just gives you a little added motivation going into the offseason. So, like I said, I never feel like we're underdogs. I believe we can win any game that we play in, but we have to continue to prove that every single year.
We'll go right here. Patrick, Dave Stevens with the Disability Channel. Most valuable bungler and MVP in 1 year. It's got to be great. But you guys had some burps during the season, and I'm wondering if that's when you really had to become a leader in this team and what you did during those ups and downs to bring this team back together to have the success last night.
Yeah, I mean, I want to take the credit, but honestly, it was everybody. I knew it was going to turn around by the way the guys worked. I mean, whenever stuff got tough, especially in that like receiving room and offensive line or with me, everybody came to work that next day and let's get that extra work in. Let's do those extra things. And when you see that, you know it's going to turn around, and our defense kept us in it all year long. And I knew our offense was going to turn because how hard guys were working every single day. And when you work that hard, usually good things happen. And so it just happened to happen right at the perfect time. And we got that momentum going into the playoffs and obviously got to win the Super Bowl.
Last question.
Mike Brodsky, Florida National News. Patrick, there were a lot of Hall of Famers, MVPs, football royalty coming through Vegas this past week. Were there any words of wisdom that any of them shared that stand out in your mind as being most memorable or helpful?
Yeah, I think I always take so much from when Mike Vick talks to us, man. I mean, I built a great relationship with him whenever he came in. It was kind of that assistant spot in training camp and in the QB room every single day. And I remember the first thing he told me was like, hey, you're going to be special. Look at that big man right there. He's going to take you to another level. And I remember coming from him and someone that I'd watched my entire life, I was like, man, I mean, if he's saying it, I know he's saying the right things. And so I took that and ran with it. And going into this week, I think he said, be champions, man. He said, just go out there, show everybody who y'all are. I always take so much from what he says, man. And he's like the coolest dude in the world, man. So it's always great when he's able to talk to the team.
That is Patrick Mahomes speaking a little bit earlier on today at his post-Super Bowl morning after press conference. A couple of things I wanted to get to here from the YouTube comments. Our guy Jayhawker says the 49ers winning the coin toss in overtime and choosing to play offense first was idiotic. Going on to say, any high school player knows you want to play defense first. Barbara adds that Kurt Warner was, I guess, going off about it, how the 49ers decided to take the ball first. Also from Vance, we'll touch on Felix a little bit later. Felix and DK Uzama's TFL at the end of the first quarter. That was a big deal. That was a huge deal, in fact, because the 49ers were cruising down the field at that point. We'll talk about Felix, though, a little bit later on in the show today with some other unsung heroes. The decision to take the ball there, we'll talk about it more in depth, and we owe you a timeout. Here's what it comes down to for me. You got to end the game, man, because you're playing Patrick Mahomes. That's what it comes down to. Like, you have to figure out the way that is most quickly going to end the game in your favor. And giving him a chance with the knowledge of what he needs, that's just never going to work out. We will be back in the 3 o'clock hour with more Super Bowl recap on 580 Sports Talk. Hey now, 3 o'clock hour of a Victory Monday, Super Bowl Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis joining you today in studio, celebrating the Chiefs' 4th ever and 3rd in the last 5 years Super Bowl championship. Parade on Wednesday. If you're going to go, be safe.
You know the drill by now.
Yeah, celebrate responsibly.
Not your first rodeo if you're planning on making it out. And
Nope.
Maybe it is. Maybe you haven't been to one, but you kind of, I'm sure you know the route. You've seen it on TV. You know how it's going to go.
Make sure you shout out the World War I veterans while you're there. You know Travis Kelce's going to be thinking about him.
Yeah.
He's got any brain cells left after the partying last night. We will get to so much more from Super Bowl 58 coming up this hour here on 580 Sports Talk. We will get to some of the legacies and history that were made or on the line in this game for Mahomes, for the Chiefs, for Andy Reid. On the flip side, for Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers as well. So we'll get to that coming up here in a few moments. We've got the good, the bad, and the ugly from Super Bowl Sunday. Things that could include the game, but the stuff around the game as well. Because the Super Bowl is not just the game. The Super Bowl is the commercials and halftime and the broadcast and the lead up and everything else that comes with Super Bowl Sunday. We'll do the good, the bad, and the ugly for everything else from this weekend and Super Bowl Sunday as well. Plus, Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated and the Matt Verderame Show is going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. Additionally, hit us up in the YouTube comment section. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can find us. Go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. You should be able to find our live stream pretty easily. We are also streaming live today on the WIBW News Facebook page. Appreciate all you guys who are hanging out, watching along with the show today. Everyone's talking barbecue in the YouTube comments right now. It's making me hungry.
Yeah.
Same. I had to turn away from that, from the chat.
I just broke the people off with my personal Kansas City area barbecue joint rankings.
Okay, Joe's first. Yes, agreed. I'd kill a man for a Z-man. I have no qualms about saying that.
I'd eat a full rack of ribs and 2 Z-mans right this second.
Right now.
No problem.
Right now.
Before the end of the segment.
You're going with Jack Stack last.
Somebody has to be like the shortest giant, right?
Yeah, that's true. My wife's favorite is Jack Stack.
Jack Stack is very good. They have outstanding sides. I like the experience at Arthur Bryant's and Gates and Slaps on the other side of the river in KCK. Yeah, Slaps is super underrated. If you ever get a chance to go get the Slaps, go get Slaps.
I think Arthur Bryant's is my number 2. I love Bryant's. The experience too. And, oh man.
Yeah,
it's so
the
good.
The experience at Gates can be off-putting if you're not ready for it the first time. But now that I know what to expect going to Gates, I'm on my toes. They ask me what I want, I tell them. I don't dawdle.
Oh, that is awesome. Hit us up again in the YouTube comments or on the text line 785-272-9429. We talked about this a little bit earlier. You can say whatever you want about who the greatest of all time is, however you want to define great. I think I root for a team and rooted for a quarterback for 18 years, 15 or 16 as a starter, whatever it was. And Aaron Rodgers, who I really, honest to my core, believed at his peak was the greatest thrower of the football of all time. I didn't think there was anyone who had more natural talent as a passer and as a playing quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. And I still think he's in the top 2. He's top 2, and yeah, he is too. Like, it's Patrick Mahomes, man. Watch him. Like, don't give me the nonsense. And I know that we're mostly talking to you, Chiefs fan out there today. But if you are a fan of someone else, or you maybe don't appreciate the greatness that we've seen from him because it's become so commonplace, like, watch him. Go borrow your friend's subscription to NFL Plus. Maybe you have your own. Go watch some of the coaches' film. Watch a little All-22 from this game. Go watch the magnificence he plays with regularly, and the mistakes don't bother him. I saw some Bills podcaster who was tweeting about, Mahomes is great, obviously, but remember that time he freaked out at Josh Allen after the game? Guys, he has had one moment in 7 years that was quote-unquote unprofessional. And was it a bad look for Mahomes? Yeah, it was. But you know what would have been worse? Getting right in Kadarius Toney's face and screaming at him.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sorry, Josh Allen, you had to hear some weirdness from Patrick Mahomes one time in 7 years, guys.
And they're buddies. It's not like...
They're pals.
Yeah, it's not like Josh Allen is totally taken aback. They don't have a personal relationship or anything like that. Like, people still being weird about that. Like, I don't know, touch grass.
Like, this is the legacy for quarterbacks, right or wrong, and I generally think it's more wrong than right, is rings, and it is wins, and it is rings, and it is MVPs, and that's all people care about, even though there is so much more to quarterbacking than just those things. Part of why the Brock Purdy discussion has been so agonizing for the better part of a year now. And again, Brock Purdy yesterday, pretty good. Frankly, if their defense had been able to hold up at the end of the game, we have a whole lot different discussion about Brock Purdy today than we're having. I mean, he's a much bigger story because he left the field with the lead multiple times, but the other guy is on the other side of the field, and that's why a lot of teams are going to lose a lot of games to this Kansas City Chiefs team. But look at what he does throwing the ball, and then take the accolades into account with it. There are 5 quarterbacks now, as of last night, who have won 3 Super Bowls or more. It's Tom Brady with 7. It's Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw with 4. It's Troy Aikman with 3. It's Patrick Mahomes with 3. And he is 28 years old. It is remarkable. He's got 2 MVPs. He's got 3 Super Bowl MVPs. He has had 5 great careers all wrapped up into 6 years as a starter. And is he in his prime?
He might just be entering it.
Like that,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about with greatness with this guy. And I don't think that is over the top. And that is, again, illustrated by another double-digit point comeback on the biggest stage in what was probably the most watched Super Bowl of all time.
Yeah, we'll figure that out later on. But there was a play, I think this was in overtime. It might have been on the final drive of the game or of regulation. And I want to make sure I know exactly when it was so that I can reference it appropriately. So I'm going to stall here as I look up the box score and the play data. But this was a year where Mahomes learned to do the boring stuff as a quarterback and do it better than anybody else in the league does it, because we knew the instant he became a starting quarterback, like the improvisational stuff, the off-schedule stuff, the deep ball stuff, we've known that nobody does that better than Patrick Mahomes. But there's the boring parts of playing quarterback too. There's all right, we've got to go down the field. We've got 1:54 and 2 timeouts in regulation to go tie or win the game. And I'm going to hit Travis Kelce for a simple first down completion on the first play. I'm going to get the snap. I'm going to get it out, and we're going to start moving the football that way. I'm going to get the ball, I'm going to get it out. We'll take our yardage. We'll just keep on moving down the field. The boring stuff. This was the stuff that Brady was so good at. Like Tom Brady's career highlight reel, like all his, what he played 20 years. And I would bet you that his highlight reel is not as long as the Patrick Mahomes highlight reel, because he didn't do a lot of the improvisational stuff. Like Tom Brady was not a great improviser in the pocket. Yeah, that one time he juked Brian Urlacher. That is the only
pretty sick.
Yeah, that was awesome. But that's like the only time I can remember him doing anything noteworthy outside of the confines of the pocket. And Mahomes has already put together like a sizzle reel that outstrips anything that Brady ever did. But there's the stuff that Brady always could do, like in the overtime of the AFC Championship game, the 2018 AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, where you just felt like, oh, God, they won the toss. We're not going to get the ball back, are we? And no, they didn't. They found the matchup, and Brady just took the snap, got it out, took the yards, kept it moving. The play, thinking of, looks like it occurred in the overtime. And it was a first down play right after they picked up the 3rd and 6 on the pass to Rice. And they've got 1st and 10. They're in San Francisco territory at the 41-yard line. And Mahomes is pressured. I think they might have brought an extra man, but Mahomes is pressured on the play. And he throws the check down to Isaiah Pacheco. There was a time Patrick Mahomes might have eaten that sack or tried to bail right out of the pocket and then thrown it away. And I mean, at least then you live to fight another down. You're not putting the ball at risk. Like Mahomes has gotten really good at that, really from Jump Street. But taking the 4 yards, and then 2 plays later, he has the 3rd and 1 scramble for 19 yards, gets him into the red zone, and the victory becomes an inevitability really at that point. But that play, to me, it's such a small thing. It's a play you may have forgotten about even when you're thinking about the game, when you think about that game-winning drive. But that to me is emblematic of what Mahomes is getting better at. The boring stuff, the check down, if you will. Like check down's a pejorative, right? When you say that about a quarterback, oh, he's check down Charlie. And that was Alex Smith's entire reputation as a quarterback, that, oh, he's the check down king. He's Mr. Check Down. Chad Pennington, lots of guys in the history of the game. But what it is not so much, oh, he's just checking down. Oh, he's just taking the easy throw. He's taking what's there. He's not giving up a negative play. He's not putting the ball in danger of being turned over. He's just keeping the trains running on time. That Mahomes has gotten to this point as a quarterback and still has the obvious athletic gifts that we have seen him put on display ever since he became this team's starting quarterback. Right now, if you're arguing there's ever been a better quarterback than this guy, your only argument is, well, Tom Brady had the rings. So what you're really arguing is Tom Brady had better teammates for a longer period of time. That is the argument you're making. And that got nothing to do with how Tom Brady played the position. Tom Brady was great. I'm not trying to say he wasn't great. He was outstanding. He's the second greatest quarterback I've ever seen play the position. Maybe that's a little high. You could argue me off of that if you want to argue for Peyton Manning or if you want to argue for Aaron Rodgers. We've seen some great ones. You want to argue for Drew Brees, maybe the most accurate quarterback we've ever seen play the game. But this dude stands alone. There's only one of him who can do all the things that he does. And this is the year he married the boring with the sublime. And when you can do both of those things better than anybody else, then you're better than everybody else.
We have a text here from the 785 that's in agreement. There's obvious advantages of Mahomes at quarterback over Brady. What was Brady ever better at than Mahomes?
That's a good point.
I mean, ran the system well, won a bunch. But here's the other big difference. And I don't mean to make this a total dump on Tom Brady thing. The dude was the quarterback of 7 Super Bowl wins. He left the Patriots and immediately won his first year with another team. Like, I'm not trying to be like those dumb Twitter trolls who are like, oh, he was actually a system QB. That doesn't even mean what you think it means. He was obviously great. But yeah, like if you're talking about what did Brady as a thrower, as a quarterback do better, I'd love to hear your argument. The other thing too, and this has been brought up a little bit in the last 12 hours or so, the first dynasty that the Patriots had, because it was an elongated dynasty, if you want to call it one, or it was 2 separate ones. Tom Brady was not. You have to get to their 3rd Super Bowl at least before you can say that the star of the show was Tom Brady. Super Bowl 36, that was about the New England defense. Super Bowl 38, that was about the New England defense. 39, you started to see, okay, well
Brady threw for well over 300 against Carolina in Super Bowl 38. Like he was really, that year was a lot more about the defense, but he played exceptionally well in that particular Super Bowl.
But the team in general was powered by their defense. And yes, he did play well in the Super Bowl itself. That is a fair point. But it wasn't until we got further into his career, and certainly the back half of his Super Bowls, in which it was, Tom Brady is the star of the show. It has been Mahomes' show from the very beginning.
Yeah, he was not an all-pro, Brady, until his 5th year as a starter. He was second-team all-pro in 2005. That would have been the year they beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Then 2 years after that, obviously, they were the 18-1 team. That was the year he won his first MVP. 3 MVPs. Like, we're not trying to. Sometimes to lift someone else up, we feel like we have to downgrade somebody else. Like, I don't think you have to downgrade what Tom Brady accomplished throughout the course of a legendary and lengthy career. I just know I watched Tom Brady play the position. I watched Patrick Mahomes play the position. And if my life were on the line, if the fate of the universe were on the line, and I get my first choice of quarterbacks, I take 15. I don't even think hard about it.
Max Kellerman? No, he would have taken like Phillip Rivers.
I was watching, I can't remember if it was NFL Countdown or maybe it was just a snippet on social media. They were talking about the debate between Brady and Mahomes and Randy Moss and Teddy. Why am I forgetting? Bruschi was there, and they were talking about the teams that Brady had to do it with. And I just went back and looked at his first couple Super Bowls. He had Deion Branch, and that was really it.
That's Super Bowl MVP Deion Branch.
Yeah, but I'm saying like Mahomes did it with Tyreek Hill in his first one, with Travis Kelce, with like all the guys. This was the first year where it felt like
they were lacking in that department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they were lacking, it was still the guys that everybody counted out to win it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The other legacy that I think, because like the Chiefs as a whole, we went through this all leading up to the game. I mean, this is now the team of this era. It went from Packers to Steelers to 49ers to Cowboys to the Patriots for what felt like forever. And now it's the Chiefs. And Andy Reid's got a third Super Bowl ring. That means a lot. He's got one more win in his belt as he tries to maybe someday have the most ever playoff wins and most ever, maybe he ends up with the highest win total of all time, passing Shula and Belichick on the way there. That is certainly possible. So that means something for him. The other legacy that was on the line, though, is on the other side of the ledger, and that's Kyle Shanahan. More so than any of those 49ers. More so than Brock Purdy, because he's still only 2 years into his career. More so than Christian McCaffrey or Nick Bosa or anyone like that. It's on the head coach. And Kyle Shanahan, you can say whatever you want about how smart of a guy he is, how good of a football mind in terms of scheming and game planning and all of those things are. And I think he is. But I call back to something that they did. I referenced the Athletic Football Show earlier. They did this series over the summer. They called it the Play Callers. And I've mentioned this show before, but they talked to Shanahan and McVay and all these guys from this current era of the in crowd of coaches and talked about how they got their starts and how they all got linked up together, what makes them tick, all of it. It was fascinating. I recommend it to anyone for off-season listening. And the dichotomy of Kyle Shanahan and all he has done and the obsessiveness with which he has learned both offense and defense and learned and built on his dad's scheme, the West Coast stuff that he's implemented into it, just all of these different things. He's got this incredible wealth of football knowledge. And yet post-game, all these 49ers are admitting, and I would take this to my damn grave, like, oh yeah, we didn't even know the rules. We didn't know.
We thought if you scored a touchdown, it was over.
Like, these dudes are admitting it. And I saw someone say, well, yeah, I mean, Andy Reid's teams were like that. Remember when Donovan McNabb didn't know games could end in a tie? This is the Super Bowl. This is the biggest game on earth. Biggest thing that you've worked your entire life to get to.
And it stands in such stark contrast, too, to Chiefs players saying, oh, yeah, we've been talking about this for the last 2 weeks. Plus,
since camp.
Yeah, we've been talking about this all year, that we know these are the rules. And of course the Chiefs know that they're the rules because they're the reason that the rule exists. They didn't make this rule for the Chiefs when they didn't get to touch the ball in the 2018 AFC Championship game, but we felt bad for Josh Allen after the 13 seconds game. That's really why that rule exists. It was, we feel bad for Josh Allen. So let's make a rule so that what happened to poor Josh Allen never happens to anyone else. And so now everybody gets to touch the ball in overtime.
It's the cream rule.
Yeah.
They took out dunking. That's what they did. When you couldn't dunk in college basketball because of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor, that's what this was. Well, I mean, if you extend the game that long, obviously the Chiefs are going to win. We got to even this out.
Go watch David Thompson's college highlights for a laugh. He's levitating like a mile above the rim and just dropping or tapping the ball through the rim because he couldn't dunk. Anyway, so the Chiefs are intimately familiar with this rule, and they're prepared, and they have a strategy. And I don't think the 49ers really seem to think it through other than, you want the ball first, right? Go score a touchdown, win, right? Mm-hmm. And Shanahan seemed to be a little bit more on top of it, even if his players were not. It's strange that Shanahan would have kept that under his vest and not shared that with his team.
But there's the thing, like, you have to have every single one of those details taken care of. You need to have everybody on the same page. You need everyone to know. And you know a great example of this? Let's go back to McCole Hardman catching the game-winning touchdown. You mentioned it. Last time he touched the ball in a clutch situation, what happened?
He fumbled through the end zone.
A near disaster against Buffalo in a game that absolutely was in doubt at that point in the divisional round of the playoffs. That play that they ran for the game-winning touchdown, they ran corn dog. As Andy Reid described it, it was corn dog with a little extra ketchup and mustard on it this year, right? I think the play officially was called Tom and Jerry. That was the play.
Tom and Jerry.
Incredible stuff. That play last year, or a similar variant of it, it went to Kadarius Toney. Kadarius has had a very bad year and was a healthy scratch. McCole Hardman, who was never going to work out in New York. I could have told you guys that from the minute he signed. That was never going to work out, healthy or not, with Aaron Rodgers, of all people, with McCole Hardman. He comes back midseason, has a very limited role all year, barely plays at all offensively in that game. Biggest moment, biggest game of his life. What is he? Ready. He is ready. Those 49ers players, we talked about it all week. Trevarius Ward saying, yeah, we're going to party a little bit, then we'll get down to work. Nick Bosa talking about holding before they even got off the ground to fly to Vegas for the game. All the whining, complaining leading up to it. The Chiefs were there to win, and they were ready and prepared. The 49ers were not, and more than anything, that feels like the biggest difference. And to me, that falls on your head coach. When you get anointed a football genius, you better get the details right. And he did not.
In the end, for Shanahan, I actually thought that he handled the final drive pretty well, like time-wise.
Agreed.
If they had gotten that final third down, he would have accomplished what he set out to accomplish, which was play keep away from Patrick Mahomes. Going for it on that fourth down in scoring range when a field goal could have tied it at 13, and instead going for that fourth down, getting the first down, scoring a touchdown, I think a play or two later. I don't think the Kyle Shanahan from Super Bowl 54 does that. I think that there is actual growth. I did not leave that game thinking Kyle Shanahan called a bad game or Kyle Shanahan made the big unconscionable, indefensible mistake.
I agree.
But the biggest thing for Kyle Shanahan is in these two Super Bowls that he has coached against, he has gone to war with a pea shooter. He's had Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy, and the opponent has been Patrick Mahomes. And I think for Shanahan, that's the biggest thing, that the team building for the 49ers has been, we want the quarterback on the rookie deal. We know this is the best way to build a winner. The best way, to allot your assets is to have the QB on the rookie deal. We want the young quarterback. We're going to pay out the ears for elite talent, Hall of Fame talent at left tackle, at defensive end, at defensive tackle, at tight end, at running back, at wide receiver, and we're going to skimp on the QB. And then the one time they didn't skimp on the QB, they trade 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance. It's the worst trade in the history of football almost.
Who is now a Dallas Cowboy.
And
third stringer, right?
Yes.
So the biggest problem for Kyle Shanahan moving forward is not, Kyle Shanahan's a choke artist. It's Kyle Shanahan has built this roster with the help of John Lynch, and they have been found wanting at the most important position. When he has gotten his team in position to go win a championship, it has been the quarterback standing in his way.
I think, too, that it's been there, done that mentality, too.
Sure.
So the last time the 49ers were there, they lost to the Chiefs. They haven't won the games. You haven't been there to do that. The Chiefs now, this is their third win. Mm-hmm. They've been there 2 other times. They've done it. They know how to prepare. And that was kind of the message last week that a lot of the players were giving during media. Like, we know to take this seriously. We know what we have to do to win this thing. We know it's here to get to work. It's not have fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what they did.
There's a difference between knowing what being in the big game is like, which several of those Niners did, and knowing what it takes to win the big game. That was the big difference. I think that's an important characteristic to note. We owe you a timeout. When we come back, the good, the bad, and the ugly from Super Bowl Sunday, and Matt Verderame is going to join us too. Coming up on this Super Bowl Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. and the ugly time here on 580 Sports Talk as we recap Super Bowl 58 and everything that came with Super Bowl Sunday. My good for yesterday, and I don't mean to be weird about this, but you watch people who are great at what they do and take a lot of pride and have passion for what they do, and they work their whole lives and at the very least all year to accomplish a goal. And in football players' cases, that's winning the Super Bowl, at least for the great ones. A lot of guys, it's a paycheck, and hey, more power to you. But for guys who are truly great, the Mahomeses, the Kelseys, the Reeds, this winning it all is what you work for the entire time. And I thought that the moments after the game, and you can complain and moan all you want about Taylor Swift, seeing how happy she was for Travis Kelce and seeing him clearly very emotional after the game and just the celebration of it, I felt emotional watching that. Like you watch people you care about do things that they care about and succeed in it. That's just really cool. And seeing Mahomes dive onto the sideline and throw his helmet down and put his head in his hands like, wow, we did that. It's beautiful. Like seeing people accomplish what they're passionate about is such a cool part of being alive. And I just thought that was really cool from those two and I guess three specifically after the game yesterday. So that's my good.
Yeah, my good is just how happy everybody is. I mean, you hear the fireworks that started it seemed like as soon as Hardman caught the pass, you started hearing fireworks in my neighborhood, not too far from our Huntoon Hill studios here in Topeka. And I'm sure if you lived anywhere in the city, you could hear them. And maybe you were among those setting them off in celebration. But I just, the sports are beautiful. They bring people together. And a lot of the time you end up disappointed in sports and being a fan. I've only ever seen my favorite football team win one Super Bowl in my life. If that's all I get, that's all I get. Some people don't get any. But that understanding that 31 out of 32 teams get to end the season disappointed, and the odds are pretty good that that's going to be you. And then when it isn't, then it's just the outpouring of emotion and the outpouring of happiness, and you get to be surrounded by people who care about it in that way, the way that we do here. Makes you feel lucky to be alive.
What'd you think about Spencer? What's your good?
I just think sports bring people together of all different genres of whatever they like in life. But I do think my one good was, Post Malone just delivered an amazing performance of America the Beautiful. Everybody knows him as like a hip hop rap artist. And here he is singing a song about America. And you look at the guy and you don't think he would do something like that just based upon his tattoos, kind of what he's known for.
Can I ask you to say his name one more time, please?
Post Malone.
You kind of gave me the DMV accent really strong when you said it at first. Like really, like you gave me like the SVP messing around with Tim Kirkjian on Sports Center.
Post Malone.
Post Malone.
I don't know. I didn't know what to expect going into that performance.
I'm sorry.
No, he was great. He was.
Like, I really didn't know. Like, was he going to try to be like really poppy, or was he? I think he did a great job. Representing America.
I thought he did a really good job with that. My bad for the game. If you think that the NFL is scripted, I hope they study your brain. I hope Harvard takes your brain when you pass and they study it for years. Give me a break, please. Please, I'm begging you, give me a break.
So on Saturday, I went to Sam's Club here in Topeka, and I saw a gentleman wearing a red pullover sweatshirt, and there was a yellow interlocking KC in the middle, like the Kansas City Chiefs KC. And there were letters around that KC, and the letters were "Shut the FU up, Tony Romo." And after Romo walked all over Jim Nance's call, the game-winning touchdown on CBS, I would like to know where that gentleman purchased that sweatshirt, because I would like one.
I'll get to more on Romo in a moment. Spencer, did you have a bad?
Romo. As an inside baseball thing here is whenever it's the final, the go-ahead, the winning, anything like that, you let the play-by-play guy do it, and then you let it sink in. And there was no sink-in period there for the Hardman touchdown. I get Romo's very insider because he was a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, this is how this happened, blah, blah, blah. You leave that for, like, the remarks afterward. You give it a good 5-10 seconds.
Gotta let it breathe.
Let it sink in. And that's
Nance's
the most
call
negative
was really
thing.
good.
Yeah.
I thought Nance's call was great. Yeah, that was my
And he was under it too. He said, "This one's for the Super Bowl," or something like that underneath of when he was going through the play call.
I've never, and real quick, if you get to Matt Verderame, I've never hated Romo the way a lot of people have. That's probably the worst color commentator. Yeah, color commentated Super Bowl in history, as far as I'm concerned.
That's my ugly as well.
He was horrific. Genuinely detracted from the game. That's the one thing. Like, we've all called games and big games before. The one thing you cannot do is detract from the game. It was an awful broadcast. And I thought Nance was great.
Yeah.
Yes.
My ugly, I still don't know what Temu is.
I always thought it was Timu.
Like Solani. But no, I guess it's Temu, and I still don't know what it is, but they spent a lot of money on those Super Bowl.
How did they afford that? That's my.
They stole your credit card info. If you ever bought anything from them, they used your money to buy those ads. We have to get to Matt Verderame. He joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. He writes for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He is the host of the brand new Matt Verderame show on Patreon. He is Matt Verderame. You can find him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. And again, all of his writing can be found in Sports Illustrated and at SI.com. Matt, I know you are, you've always been a Chiefs fan along with a national reporter, and now your show has a Chiefs slant to it as well. So I'm curious. We've asked you this question a handful of times with these recent Chiefs Super Bowl wins over the last 5 years. But for this team to have back-to-back titles, 3 in the last 5 years, to truly be a dynasty, to have this guy at quarterback, can you sort of put it into perspective for us just how incredible this particular Super Bowl run and really this era is for the Chiefs?
They're one of the 3 greatest teams in NFL history. Like, when you really look at the challenges the teams face now, salary cap, free agency, there are more teams in the league. I think, look, for example, the Cleveland Browns in the 1950s, they went to 6 straight NFL title games. They won 3 of them. They had a back-to-back in there. There were like 12 teams in the league, and there was no free agency. And the draft is a lot different than it is now, and there was no salary cap. Like, what the Chiefs are doing is almost impossible. I think because it's coming on the heels of what New England did, it's looked upon as, well, they're the next dynasty. And I don't know that you're going to see a lot of teams have this level of success going forward, because it's so difficult to keep everybody together. And, of course, that starts with the quarterback, who I think last night, if he wasn't already on it, for most people, etched himself onto the Mount Rushmore quarterbacks in the NFL, along with Montana and Brady, and then after that, take your pick. he's spectacular. And when they needed him to be last night, he was.
The fact that they have now come back, in all 4 Super Bowls they've been to in this era, they've trailed by 10 or more. 55, obviously an anomaly. But the comeback this time to go down 10-0 early, to only have 3 points at the break, what felt like the difference maker in the second half? Was it simply they just played better? Was there something that the Niners weren't doing that the Chiefs could take advantage of? What felt like the switch flipping moment in the second half?
Well, I think a few things. One, I thought that in the first half of the game, the 49ers, to their credit, were just unbelievable up front defensively. I mean, they were constantly in the backfield. And with 4, not because they were bringing some massive blitz, like just getting home and getting pressure and causing problems. The second half of the game, while they still played well, they were not to that level. And I think part of that was, and look, the Chiefs made some adjustments up front. They helped a little more on the edges. Part of that also is it's very hard to play like that for, well, as it turned out, not even 60, but 75 minutes. It's very hard. At some point, you're going to wear down a little bit. We saw that the last time these 2 teams got in the Super Bowl. So I think that was part of it. Their part of it was, I thought, the Niners offensively, in the third quarter, they wanted to throw the ball a lot. And nobody has thrown the ball in the Chiefs this year. And the Niners weren't going to be the first team. Purdy wasn't bad, but he wasn't anything special in the game either. It allowed the Chiefs to kind of find themselves. And, of course, I think the biggest single play of the game was that muff punt. That play gave the Chiefs an easy touchdown at a time when they couldn't do anything on offense. It kind of jump-started that team. And after that, they never punted. After that, they scored 4 straight times.
The defense was great. And I know the 49ers moved the ball really well in the first quarter. But other than that, I thought the Chiefs defense was about as good as you could have possibly asked for. And I know Chris Jones was really good in the game. But to be honest with you, if Patrick Mahomes hadn't won MVP of the Super Bowl, I'm giving it to Trent McDuffie. That was an unbelievable performance. And you don't always need interceptions to play a great game as a corner. And I thought he was damn near perfect for the entire game. What about the defensive performance stood out the most to you, Matt?
How complete it was. I agree about McDuffie. McDuffie was sensational. But, Leo Chenal was incredible. I would argue that Leo Chenal's best 2 games as a Chief have been the last 2 Super Bowls. He was great last night in a way that you could never have asked him to be. Up front, Karlaftis played well. Jones was great. Mike Pennell. Which I think Uzama had a tackle for a loss, in his limited role. So, yeah, I think for me, that's kind of what it's been about all season, Chief, where you look at them and they don't have 5 Hall of Famers on defense. They have some very, very good players. I'm not saying they don't, but they're not like the Legion of Boom Seahawks. You looked at that team and went, okay, well, look, Sherman's in the Hall of Fame. And Earl Thomas might get to the Hall of Fame, and Ken Chancellor might get to the Hall of Fame, and Bobby Wagner's going first ballot. Like, this team, the strength is, yes, they have some stars on defense, but they don't have a weakness. And I thought that was true in this game. The Niners just really couldn't exploit anything because they're so good at everything. And, in the end, after giving up 10 points in the first half, and they buckled down, gave up 12 through the last 3 quarters of the game.
Matt Verderame is our guest here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, joining us on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk, as he does every Monday at this time. Writes about the National Football League for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also the host of the Matt Verderame Show, which you can find on Patreon. Go check him out on Twitter at Matt Verderame for more details on that exclusive content. Matt, we were just talking about Mahomes earlier this hour, and I said that this was a year we already knew he was the best at the sublime, and this was the year he became the best at the boring. That 4-yard completion to Pacheco, just kind of keep the line moving on that overtime drive, was a perfect example of just how his understanding of what is required of him at every turn has improved as he's gone on. We've got 3 titles, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, and he's only 20 years old. What is the rest of the league supposed to do with him? And can he get better?
They should pray, because if he's upright, the Chiefs are the favorite every year. Every year. Doesn't mean they're going to win every year. They're not. But if that guy's upright and they have any kind of a football team around him, they're the favorite. Look, let's be real about this team this year. I mean, they were great defensively. Great. They kind of stunk offensively for most of the season. I know they're like 11th or 12th in points or something like that. This is not a good offensive team. I mean, they could not consistently make plays. They beat themselves. And yet, when they played in the playoffs against the Dolphins, look, okay, fine, they should win that game. 3 other teams that were really good teams, they did everything they had to do. I mean, you watched that game last night and said, yeah, they struggled offensively, and they did. They had 455 yards of offense last night. I mean, it doesn't feel like that, but they had 4.8 yards per play. It's a great number. Like, they did the job. And look, yes, you can get better, by the way. It's going to be incremental at this point. It's not going to make quantum leap here next year, but I think most of it's through experience, seeing different coverages, seeing different wrinkles, knowing coordinators, seeing the guy for the 3rd time, the 4th time. I think that's where he'll improve. I don't think it's all of a sudden going to be he's a little more accurate. He's got a bigger arm. I mean, yeah, maybe a tiny little bit, but I think it's mostly just going to be gaining that knowledge that you can only gain through time.
9 for 13 passing for Mahomes for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those are the numbers Mahomes put up, not to Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. Those are the numbers Mahomes put up last night, throwing to Mecole Hardman, Justin Watson, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. For those 3 to have played the role they did last night, for Hardman, of all people, to catch a Super Bowl winning touchdown in overtime, what does that say about what do you think that says the most about when it comes to these Chiefs?
They're a team. They're a great team. And again, I said earlier, their offense was not great this year. Their offense was pretty average. But as a team, they're one of the greatest teams to ever grace a football field. I mean, they can beat you any way you want to play. And, we saw it against the Bills, where the defense really didn't play that well. And the Chiefs offense put up 9 yards per play before kneel down. We saw that in Baltimore, where the offense played great in the first half, didn't do a lot in the second half. The defense was nails all day long. And really, it was kind of a combination in the Super Bowl. The defense kept them alive for the first 2.5 quarters. And then the offense, on the last 4 drives it had, scored 19 points. And the defense made just enough plays. That Super Bowl, if you go back and look at that game, watch that game. God knows Chiefs fans will do it, and they should. There were a couple of plays in that game. It's do or die. And it wasn't just 4th down and 1 with the ball in overtime. I mean, it was 3rd and 4 at the end of regulation coming out of 2-minute warning. Like, they convert that. That game's done. The Niners had a 3rd and 4 at the 9 in overtime, which wouldn't, of course, ended the game. But, they scored a touchdown there. You were climbing a much stiffer hill. It was a game where both sides of the team and the special teams made a couple big plays, had a couple big moments, and now they're sitting here as a dynasty.
And Matt, think of that final drive in regulation for the Chiefs. It kind of seemed like they were playing for the tie, and then you get that big pass down inside the red zone to Kelce, and then they just run out of time, so they have to kick the field goal. What do you make of that drive?
I'll tell you the truth. I thought when Kelce caught that ball, I thought he was going to score before you saw the safety come into the picture. And then they showed, the next play. It was kind of funny. They showed that Rice, he was open. It was a bad snap on the play. Humphrey, he blocked well. He could not snap the ball at all. I don't know what was going on. He was having all kinds of problems getting the ball back to Mahomes. They had 5 fumbles last night. Recovered 4 of them. It was just a disaster trying to hold on to the football. But I think if the snap got back to him, I think he sees Rice. I think it's a walk-in touchdown. That game's over. Obviously, it doesn't happen that way. They end up having they throw to Kelce on the outside, and they pick. I think they were right to kick the second. Some people have asked, should they have picked? They had one more play. You can't risk it there. You got to take a tip shot field goal and tie the game. I actually like the fact on the sideline It looked like Rasheed Rice was basically yelling at Mahomes, "Hey man, I'm open. Throw me the football." For a rookie second-round pick in the last 10 seconds of a Super Bowl to be telling the greatest quarterback alive, "Hey man, throw it to me. Like I'm here." I mean, that's the kind of guy you want going forward. I mean, you'd rather have that than some guy who's a shrinking violet out there who just wants football, right? So, it was impressive. I'd also say in a weird way, it was almost as predictable. Like you knew when they got the ball back with $1.50 and 2 timeouts. I don't know any Chiefs fan who was like they're not going to score. Even as hard as it was for them at times last night, you just felt like it's Mahomes. They're not going to, like he's not going 3 and out here. Yeah, he's not throwing a pick here. They're going down the field, right? They did it, and then they get the ball back in overtime, and listen, everybody I'm sure is different, but once they got over midfield, I felt once they got over, that game was over. I just did not think the 49ers, once they crossed the 50, were going to be able to stop them.
Final few moments with Matt Verderame, who covers the entire NFL for Sports Illustrated and SI.com, also the host of the brand new Matt Verderame Show, which you can find and subscribe to on Patreon. He joins us every Monday at this time to talk all things NFL. Matt, there's been a lot made about the decision by Kyle Shanahan to take the ball to start overtime. Now, even aside from apparently not being on the same page with his players and a bunch of his players for some reason admitting that they didn't know the new postseason overtime rules, I thought initially when they decided to take the ball, that's weird. I wouldn't do that. Then I saw Mitchell Schwartz, who's a very smart guy, former Super Bowl champion, say on Twitter, I kind of get it because then if it gets to the sudden death possessions, you get first crack at it. But then I came to the realization, you're playing Mahomes. Why would you even risk that? Why would you plan for an extra possession when that guy is on the other side? What did you make of that decision by Kyle Shanahan?
Look, I thought in real time that it was insane. Like when they won the toss, the 49ers won the toss, I instantly just see, they're going to kick it because then they dealt the 4 downs if they need them to score. And when Warner said we're going to take the ball, I thought I misheard it. And I'm like, they're going to take the ball. Like, why? And listen, Shanahan after the game said, it was really about, the third possession of overtime. Bro, you're not getting to the third possession of overtime. Like, and I got to tell you, if you're going to do that, if you're going to take the ball there, and I know this is debatable, this is fine, then I'm not kicking that field goal. Like, if I'm at 3rd and 4 at the 9, I'm running with McCaffrey. I'm going for a 4 now. Because if I give that guy the ball and a touchdown beats me, we're losing. I mean, you got to read the room a little bit. Your defense is toasted, man. There's none. There's gas over the Chiefs. Like, the offense is clearly at one of the upper hand. I couldn't believe they took the football. And I thought Shanahan really coached a very good game last night. I thought, they got a little pass after the third quarter. For the most part, they did a lot of stuff to make Purdy's life pretty easy. They schemed some stuff up. I thought Shanahan did a really good job calling that game yesterday. But that's one of those decisions you say, what are you doing? Like, how do you – I'm sorry. To me, there's no justification for that. That's crazy. You kick the ball, and you make Mahomes go score 7 with 3 downs. And then at least what's going on. If you tie the game, you go for 2 to win it. That was inexcusable.
Matt Verderame covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He is also the host of the brand new Matt Verderame Show. You can find him on Patreon. It's even linked on his Twitter right now, at Matt Verderame on Twitter. He joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline every Monday at this time. Talk all about the National Football League. Matt, hope you enjoyed Super Bowl Sunday. We appreciate the time as always, and we'll talk to you next week as we get ready for the start of what should be a wild offseason.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
That is the great Matt Verderame joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Always really great insight and all sorts of really great perspective from Matt Verderame. Halfway home on 580 Sports Talk. We'll talk more Super Bowl 58 coming up next on 580 WIBW. now halfway home on a Super Bowl Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He's Dan Lucero. He is Spencer Dupuis, joining you for the next 2 hours here on 580 Sports Talk. We want your thoughts, your takes, your texts on everything going on with Super Bowl 58. What was your Super Bowl Sunday like, your Super Bowl party, your viewing experience on the game, any of it? Send it to us on the text line, 785-272-9429, or hit us up on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. You'll be able to find our live stream, find our channel. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We are using these brand new cameras in studio. We bring you the show on YouTube every single day, along with on your radio dial and via our website. You can also, of course, check out all of our other video content up there, like our Chiefs Instant Reaction show from last night. It's all on our YouTube, so go check it out, subscribe, and hang out in our live stream today as well. We get to the defense. I want to talk about how great Spags' defense was in this game. We had a good friend of ours, former longtime host of 580 Sports Talk, who wanted to share something today. Yes, let's hear it. Let's hear from the great Jake LeBon.
The Kansas City Chiefs are champions again. They have won Super Bowl 58 behind an MVP performance from Patrick Mahomes.
For those who missed our December 20th show, Dan, would you like to fill everyone in?
Yeah, so with Jake leaving, we wanted to get some voice practice from Jake for some things that we felt like were possible eventualities. And we had some fun with it. If anybody remembers the old Saturday Night Live sketch with Dana Carvey as Tom Brokaw talking about Gerald Ford dead today, eaten by wolves. Like that was the inspiration for the segment we did. We did it in the 2:00 hour, Jake's final show with us back on December 20th. And one of the lines that I fed to Jake's teleprompter was exactly that. And since that ended up happening, we thought we would play it today.
That was really good. That was well thought out by you. You came up with the list. You produced that segment.
I did. I wrote that, and he delivered the line, and it ended up coming true. As it turns out, the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes winning MVP happens a lot. 3 times in 5 years is a lot.
Yes, it is a lot. Real quick, and we'll get to the commercials and the halftime show and everything else coming up in the 5:00 hour. So stay tuned for that. I know it was obviously a big deal to a lot of people. Vance asked us on YouTube, the commercials were okay. What was your favorite commercial from the night? It was a very forgettable year of commercials. Like, more so than other years recently have been very forgettable. The one that I remember the most, and that is going to stick out, I did think it was funny. Reactions seem to be kind of mixed. I thought the Dunkings commercial was good with Matt Damon, mostly Ben Affleck, J-Lo, Tom Brady. I thought that was pretty funny.
Me too. That was my number one.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Beyonce dropped some new music. Did an ad and then dropped some new music on top of it.
Yeah, that was wild.
Okay.
I didn't understand it for a minute.
So Post Malone is now trending a little more country and is like venturing into the country world. So is Beyonce, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. She's very talented. I'm sure. I haven't listened to the new songs. I'm sure she did a good job.
Beyonce must have heard that Tracy Chapman was the first black woman to ever win a country music award and said, well, no shame in being second.
She did a whole
I'm coming for 'em
commercial.
all. They won't give me album of the year at the Grammys.
How often?
Wasn't that a Verizon commercial
Yes,
too?
it was a Verizon commercial. The guy, Tony Hale from
Crazy collab.
From what do you call it? Arrested Development. Buster Bluth.
Yeah.
Was in on that ad too. Shout out to the everybody from Suits making an appearance in a couple of different ads. It was nice to see the folks from Suits. I enjoyed seeing not all of them, notably, not all of them, but like most of them.
Everyone from Arrested Development, everyone living who played a role in the original Arrested Development too, I believe, showed up in something over the course of the night.
Nice to see Louis Litt's eminently punchable face on a Super Bowl commercial. Glad he's still getting work.
2 other commercials that stood out to me was essentially one was a PSA from the NFL. But it was a really well-produced commercial. The Born to Play.
With
the International Pathway Program.
My guy Kwesi.
And OCU Manura. Yeah.
Man.
I turned to my wife and said, that's a real guy. That's OCU Manura. He played for the Giants. He won a Super Bowl.
That and then the FanDuel Kick of Destiny one that came up after halftime where they remembered Carl Weathers.
Yeah, man, the FanDuel marketing department must have been in a tailspin when he passed away last week. And obviously, condolences to the Weathers family and a great man.
But I'm glad they were able to produce something real fast that showed us the solidarity to him.
Could have made it wild awkward. Yeah. That's for sure.
Can't believe you guys thought that he was going to make that kick. Come on.
I really did. Was he going to run it back next year? Kick a Destiny 3? Who asked for this?
John Cena's going to be involved, apparently. John Cena's everywhere. He was in those commercials. I was right. So thanks, FanDuel. Appreciate that. I thought the couch potato ad was funny. The Pluto TV one.
Yeah. All the different potatoes. Yeah.
I will say the State Farm one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and what's the
Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
when they reprised the characters from Twins. That was pretty funny. That was pretty good. We'll talk more about the commercials, halftime, and more coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Also, real fast. We had a texter in from the 785 who says, I'm very confused. I was unaware of this cult following that seems to think the NFL is scripted. Have I been living under a rock? No, I'm going to tell you, my friend, you are living a much better life than I am. Because as we have said multiple times, Dan and I in particular, we were just talking about this the other day, like way too online. I wish sometimes I could go back to a life when I didn't go on the computer every day.
Yeah.
And that when going on the computer was like an activity, I'm going to use the computer. Now I can't stop scrolling. There's just always stuff all the time.
It's bad. It's an illness. I need to kick the habit real bad. There are so many characters that I wish I didn't know who they were that only really exist among the internet brained. And so a lot of them are the ones propagating this idea that everything is rigged for money.
And it's dumb. It's like any other conspiracy theory. It's just vague enough that you make yourself think, well, maybe. But if you actually look for any logic, it is preposterous, utterly preposterous. And every time, you know what the tie-in is? And people have and I was telling you this earlier, Dan. I think a lot of people have reacted negatively to the legalization and widespread growth of sports gambling. I like to gamble. I had a very good gambling day yesterday, in fact.
I did too. Shout out McCullard.
Yeah, the really shortest touchdown over a yard and a half. Thank you. The one prop from our competition I actually bet on, thankfully, was a winner, among other things. But I think it is more and more people don't get it. Like, you have to understand sometimes you gamble, you're going to lose. And sometimes you think you have a sure thing, and it's not a sure thing because it's sports. It's the greatest drama on earth. Sometimes things don't go the way you plan. I think more and more people have access to putting down $4 on a 19-leg parlay where their $4 will pay out $4 million. And then they get all, I don't even know what word to use, PO'd, triggered. I don't even know what word is the right one to use. And then they freak out. This must be rigged for money. This can't be real. Nah, dude, sorry. Christian McCaffrey finishes between 119 and 119.8 total yards didn't hit. Sorry, that just doesn't happen all the time.
I know that's how you were hoping to put gas in your car this week, but I don't know. Maybe throttle down those 10-leg parlays and open up a 401k. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it just that stuff is so dumb, and I'm not going to get into the other sociological element of it outside the sports world, but. No, if someone is trying to tell you the NFL is rigged and they mean it, walk away. I'm not saying be rude. I am not saying yell at them. I'm not saying berate them. I am saying you say,
excuse yourself from the conversation.
Okay. And you walk away. You just turn and walk away. They are not worth your time. That discussion is not worth your time. That is my tip to you for polite society. Just walk away. It is not worth your time. What is worth your time?
I have a rubber ball. Perhaps you'd like to bounce it.
What is worth your time is the Chiefs defense and is talking about how great they are. Do you know who the only coordinator, offensive or defensive, in NFL history with 4 rings is? As a coordinator, not was a coordinator, then a head coach like a Bill Belichick, but no, as a coordinator who has 4 rings. You know who it is? Only one.
They trust him.
It is.
That's for sure.
Steve Spagnuolo.
He is the only one. He has now won 3 with the Chiefs. He obviously famously won 1 with the Giants as well in 2007 with knocking off maybe the greatest team of all time. They just ended up losing the biggest game of all time.
Maybe the greatest team of all time. According to Football Outsiders DVOA, the greatest team to ever lose a Super Bowl, the 2007 New England Patriots. You know the second best team to lose the Super Bowl since 1981 is?
Is it the 2020 Chiefs?
No, it is the 2023 San Francisco 49ers. And you know who is the third best team to lose a Super Bowl since 1981? It's the 2019 San Francisco 49ers. And what do all three of those losses for all three of those great teams and all three of those great offenses, what do they have in common? Steve Spagnuolo whipped them in the Super Bowl.
You know what? One of the things that stands out, we've got some stats here to really break down just how unbelievable Spags has been. And I think there's a couple things in this game in particular that really stood out. Everybody knows Spags is a blitzer, right? Like more than anything, people know him for the exotic blitzes. You either blitz or you have an exotic blitz. And everybody knows also every blitz you have, what do? You dial it up. That's how you call a blitz. You dial it up. But Spags isn't like a Brian Flores, who is a good defensive coordinator. But you know what happens if your blitz doesn't get home when you're Brian Flores and you
shredded?
You get destroyed. Same with old Wink Martindale. When it gets home and it works, awesome. What happens if you run into a good line that can block a blitz with 5? Or if you have bad coverage guys on the back end? You know what happens? You are now looking for your third team in 3 years. That's what happens when you've got a team like that. Spags isn't like that, though. All the fundamentals are so good across this defense. And does talent matter? Obviously, duh. The 07 Giants, Michael Strahan, was OC on that team?
Yeah.
Or was he on 2011? Justin Tuck. You had great cover dudes.
Kiwanuka.
Yeah, the really strong linebacker core. Like, that was a very talented team. Chiefs have had plenty of talent on the defensive side of the ball. But when you get the little things done right, similar to the Chiefs as a big picture concept as well, but you've got guys who can cover. You can trust those guys to cover. You know that Trent McDuffie or L'Jarius Sneed, they can play slot, they can play boundary, they can bring pressure from the second level or right off the edge from a corner blitz as well. When you've got that trust in your guys, you can do anything. And knowing that they're going to do the little things right, even more so allows you to do anything with your defense. And that's maybe the most impressive thing about Spags and his career and what he's been able to accomplish. As for last night, in and of itself, the biggest difference for me was the fact that the Chiefs were able to hold up in the red zone, or at least near to the red zone. The 49ers early in that game had a chance to go up by at least 3 scores or make it at least 14 instead of 10-0. They were moving the ball really well. Purdy started the game 8 of 10 for something like 115 yards. McCaffrey was gashing the Chiefs on those first early couple of carries. And yet they held up in the red zone, forced the one early field goal, which was a long one, but you held them to the long field goal. The trick play, yeah, you scored whatever. I tweeted that the 49ers should be considered losing because they had to resort to deception. I had people in my mentions like, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. If you don't know
that was the funniest thing I saw on Twitter.
Dog, if you don't know that's a joke, you need help. Like, I will call you a doctor myself. But the fact that they kept him out of the red zone, then biggest moments of the game, fourth quarter and overtime, 3rd down and 4. If the Niners get that first down, as you pointed out, at the end of regulation, there is a very real chance Patrick Mahomes never sees the ball again. And it just ends with a Jake Moody field goal try in regulation. But you called the right play at the right time. You forced them into a field goal. Then, end of the game, end of overtime, 3rd down, they are in scoring range. They have moved right down the field. You had an open guy, Juwan Jennings, who we haven't talked about a whole lot today because he played for the 49ers and they lost. Juwan Jennings was incredible.
He would have been the MVP.
Yes, yeah. He would have, and honestly probably should have gotten some votes anyway.
If he was the first guy since Antoine Randall to throw a touchdown and catch a touchdown. Oh, I don't know if Randall caught a touchdown.
He was definitely the first wide receiver to throw a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
So it was first wide receiver to throw a touchdown in the Super Bowl since Antoine Randall.
I don't think Randall caught one in that Super Bowl.
Correct.
I was wrong.
The only other one to ever throw and catch for one in the same Super Bowl was Nick Foles.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nick Foles, the legend.
I will say the big thing that I think the defense for the Chiefs did well was keeping Kittle out of it.
Not just
Wait, George Kittle played? He was there?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I didn't know that because I'd heard that he was going to get back to the Super Bowl
with a vengeance.
And then
he caught 2 passes for 4 yards.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt.
So
I'm pretty sure he left the game early.
So he did come back, but yeah.
So we talked all week long about the skill talent, the high-level skill talent that the 49ers had with Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. And McCaffrey did his thing. He caught a touchdown pass. He ran the ball mostly effectively. He also had a costly fumble. But like Christian McCaffrey did about what you'd expect that Christian McCaffrey would do. How about this stat? This was the 48th game where Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Daniel all played to gain at least 100 scrimmage yards. There have been 3 exceptions to that rule. Last year's NFC Championship game where they were literally playing without a quarterback. This year's game against the Browns when Deebo Samuel got hurt early and didn't finish the game. And last night's Super Bowl. Ayuk, Kittle, and Samuel combined for 94 yards from scrimmage. And it's not just that. It's not just, they were so fully taken away that Brock Purdy wasn't even looking at him and all these other guys were getting all the targets. No. Brock Purdy threw 20 passes to Deebo, Ayuk, and Kittle. Completed 8 of them for 86 yards. Seatbelts on those 3. Seatbelts for 60 or 75 minutes of football. Seatbelts on those 3 outstanding pass catchers. Guys who you think of as big play threats, yard after catch monsters, potential game breakers. Seatbelts.
Here's a stat. Trent McDuffie was a primary match with Deebo on 13 plays yesterday. Of those 13 plays, he's targeted 6 times, only allowed him to 1 catch for 9 yards, 3 pass breakups in that between the 2.
And this is the amazing thing about this Chiefs defense. Here's a fun trivia question for you. Which side of the ball, offense or defense, which side of the ball has more first-round picks for the Chiefs?
Oh, it's the defense.
Wrong.
Really?
It's the offense. 4 first-round picks for the Chiefs on offense. Here's the thing. 3 of them never play. Kadarius Toney, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Blaine Gabbert, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, okay.
Those are your 4 first-round picks. 3 first-round picks on this Chiefs defense.
George.
Furious George.
McDuffie.
Trent McDuffie.
And, oh my God, I literally just had his name in my mouth, and I'm trying to think of who it is and why. Felix.
Yeah, don't think too hard. Felix ABK is not. Those are the only first-round picks on this defense. Not just first-round pick by the Chiefs. First-round picks by anybody. Think about guys who made big plays. Mike Pennell, undrafted. Neil Farrell, 4th-round pick, held up really well in the middle.
Of all games, he was inactive for all but 2 games, all regular season, and he came up and was making tackles in big moments yesterday.
Leo Chanel, 3rd-round pick. Jalen Watson recovered a fumble on special teams, 7th-round pick. L'Jarius Sneed, obviously, 4th-round pick. Justin Reed, Mike Edwards, Drew Tranquil, the big free agent signings by the Chiefs. Blue chip guys, nope. 3rd-round pick, 4th-round pick. Chris Jones, 2nd-round pick. Nick Bolton, 2nd-round pick. Leo Chanel, 3rd-round pick. Like, this is not the upper end of the upper end when you're talking about blue chippers, when you're talking about just pure talent in the game. These are not even the first-rounders. Where were those guys drafted in the first round? Felix, 31st pick. Trent McDuffie, 21st pick. And George was the 30th pick. Like, this is not necessarily blue chip athleticism, blue chip potential. What the Chiefs have done under Spagnuolo is take this collection of guys, 2nd-day draft picks, 3rd-day draft picks, undrafted guys, and they turn them into one of the best defenses in the NFL. And it's the only way you can do it when you have a quarterback who has the highest cap hit on your team. No team in NFL history in the salary cap era had won a Super Bowl when their quarterback had the highest cap hit on the team. It had never happened before last night. And you can only do that when you're compiling your defense from the 2nd day of the draft, the 3rd day of the draft, the day after, the minute after the draft, when you're calling guys and you're bringing them in. It's remarkable team building. It's remarkable scouting, and it is remarkable coaching. They don't put coordinators in the Hall of Fame. They don't. I don't know why that is, but they don't. There's nobody in the Pro Football Hall of Fame strictly for their work as a coordinator. Like Nick LeBeau's in the Hall of Fame, and he wasn't a good head coach, but he's a great player. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame, in addition to the work he did as a defensive coordinator. Like Wade Phillips isn't in the Hall of Fame. There are all kinds of great coordinators who aren't in the Hall of Fame. Tom Moore, the great coordinator for Peyton Manning's old team, he could be in the Hall. They don't put those guys in the Hall of Fame. If they did, I might suggest the line forms behind Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah. Like, again, more rings as a coordinator than anybody else. Anybody else. And last year's defense was good, but I think it stops there at good. In 1 year with almost all the same guys, they were the best, or arguably the best defense in the entire NFL. Really, really impressive stuff. And they will get plenty of praise, and they deserve plenty of praise. They'll continue to get it throughout this week following Super Bowl 58. We're going to take a quick break from the Super Bowl coming up next because we've got today's What Is Wrong With You, but then we will hear from Andy Reid and his press conference this morning coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're still taking your texts, 785-272-9429, and your comments in our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Back after this with more 580 Sports Talk. It's time for the first What Is Wrong With You of the week here on 580 Sports Talk as we continue down the path for the month of February, getting closer and closer to finding our monthly champion. We already have one weekly champion. Let's start our quest for number 2. I will go first today for our What Is Wrong With You stories, where we meet a Coral Springs man who is charged with assault with a deadly weapon after he threatened to allegedly kill a landscaping worker. So on February 5th, the Coral Springs Police Department responded to reports of a man threatening victims near Northwest 38th Street. According to a report, upon arrival, officers were told by the victim on the scene that the conflict originated between himself and the man, later identified as 63-year-old Samuel DiOrio of Coral Springs, after a previous encounter 2 days earlier, when the victim, a local landscaping company owner, narrowly avoided hitting DiOrio, who was walking his dog at the time. Now, the victim told officers the near miss was because he had to veer off the road to avoid another collision with a vehicle. Following the incident, a verbal altercation set the stage for the later confrontation. As the landscaper and his crew worked at a nearby residence, DiOrio appeared, photographing the company's truck, leading to an exchange of heated words. The situation quickly escalated when DiOrio brandished a machete and began yelling threats toward the landscaper, including, quote, "I'll cut you to pieces," and "I'll cut you up today."
Where did the machete come from? I know it's Florida, and Florida is the most I keep that thing on me state in our union.
Yes.
Why is that thing a machete?
It was later discovered during interviews with DiOrio himself that he had told the victims he would kill them and, quote, "eat their bodies."
All right.
Fearing for his safety, the victim, armed with only a water hose, called 911.
I love that detail.
Coral Springs police gathered evidence corroborating the victim's account, including video surveillance. The footage showed DiOrio with the machete aggressively pointing it at the landscaper, like it's a saber pointing it at him. Despite the claim of self-defense, alleging the landscaper had threatened to kill him instead, the video evidence and witness statements painted a different picture. During the police interview, DiOrio's story unraveled, and he ultimately admitted to the altercation, acknowledged brandishing the machete and making threats, but attributed them to frustration over the earlier traffic incident. He was already on probation at the time of the incident. He turned himself in on February 6th and has since been transported to the Broward County main jail.
I just, like...
I will eat your bodies.
Yeah, he's a wild boy. There's no doubt about that. Like, that is the kind of behavior that I would expect somebody who just carries a machete on their daily dog walk to escalate to. Like, none of that is surprising. If it all follows from, it's a nice day, I am going out for a stroll, I'm going to take my pup with me, and I got my machete just in case something pops off, and I got to eat some bodies.
Come on, man. That's just so messed up. Beyond belief. All right, what you got?
Okay, my story today is a little less graphic, but this is one of the weirder stories I think I've ever encountered here on What Is Wrong With You. An investigation is underway at a Montreal area high school. So we're going north of the border, eh? After multiple parents have alleged their kid's art teacher has been taking drawings they made in class and listing them for sale on several websites without their knowledge. CTV News in Canada has spoken to two parents who say they are outraged after learning their kid's art is showing up online, seemingly for a profit. One drawing made by a 12-year-old student who attends a high school in an off-island suburb west of Montreal has been listed for $151 on at least 4 different websites. Her drawings and those of other fellow classmates appear on multiple items, including T-shirts sold for $55, coffee mugs for $41,
41,
and even iPhone cases at $35 a pop. One of the parents said he learned about what happened when his 2 daughters came home from school on Wednesday and told him that a classmate stumbled upon the teacher's website after searching his name on Google. That student went to inform another teacher, and within minutes, word spread fast around the school about what they had found. Now, these drawings are what you would expect to see a 12-year-old draw. I mean, we're not talking about a prodigy here, okay? We're not talking about like young Van Gogh in the making here. These are very much what you would expect a 12-year-old's artwork to look like. And they are being sold by this art teacher, Mario Perrone, as Blank's creepy portrait.
Weird.
When reached by CTV News, the Lester B. Pearson School Board did not answer questions about how many students are implicated and what the teacher's status is with the school board. Fun fact, the NHLPA's Player of the Year award used to be named after Lester B. Pearson.
Really?
Yeah. It's named after Ted Lindsay now, but it used to be named after Lester B. Pearson.
Huh.
The Lester B. Pearson School Board is aware of the situation, is taking these allegations very seriously. An investigation is underway, so the school board cannot comment on this matter any further at this point. Another parent called it an extremely troubling case that the school needs to address. According to Perrone's LinkedIn profile, he's been a full-time teacher at Westwood Junior since September 2019. On his profile, he promotes his personal website, one-mario-perrone.pixels.com, which is where the children's artwork can be found. And they're just all called creepy portrait, with presumably the child's name appended to it.
Man,
it could have gone a different way for this teacher, and they could have decided to do some other stuff online. But it is really weird.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I'm just of all the art you could try to sell, because it's not even like what people make fun of as modern art. Like, oh, this isn't even art. This is like, I mean, clearly a child's drawing. It's not bad. Like, these kids clearly like paid attention to the lessons and followed them in these paintings.
And look, I think that some of them are supposed to be, in fact, creepy.
Yeah.
Like, if you go look at the bottom here, like this one girl's got like Joker face paint on and like missing an eye and like an eyeball coming out of an eye socket. Like, they are meant to be creepy. But it is wild that an art teacher would see this and say, I'm going to turn a profit on this.
All right, so who wins here? We've got two extremes. We've got a very strange art teacher trying to sell their kids art, if you can call it that, for a profit.
It's just such a wild move.
Or the guy who threatened to eat a man.
Yeah, it's got to be.
And brandished a machete.
I feel like it's got to be that.
It's definitely Machete Guy.
Yeah.
It was going to be tough to take down Machete Guy.
This story is bizarre, though.
Yeah,
I'm very confused more than anything.
Yeah, it is truly a strange story that this art teacher just thought, I'm gonna make a quick buck, but not with my own art. I suck. But these kids, they've got a spark. They got such a spark. I think I could sell a $41 coffee mug or two.
If you buy a $41 coffee mug, what is wrong with you? True. That's a what is wrong with you right there. Come on now. That is our winner, though. Our machete wielder. He advances on to tomorrow in What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. Coming up next, Andy Reid. He spoke to the media earlier today with a very gravelly voice after a night of partying. We'll hear from Big Red coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan, Dan, and Spencer here with you on 580 Sports Talk on this Super Bowl victory Monday. We've got a text in from the 785 that asks, I'm curious if Andy Reid's post-game meal was a cheeseburger basket. Well, fear not, Chiefs fan. Last night, Andy Reid and his wife, Tammy, they made the rounds. They were on NFL Network for a little bit. When Andy dropped an incredible line talking about his wife, he goes, she had 5 kids and it ruined my body. I'm not sure what happened there, which is just an unbelievable line. And then they come over to the ESPN set. They're talking to Boomer and Booger, and they bring out a box from In-N-Out.
Yeah.
Like a food carrier. They had multiple burgers and fries in it.
Looked like a double-double with cheese and a box of fries. Now, God only knows how long that was sitting down there.
But under the heat lamp at the Super Bowl.
Here's what it was. Is one of the interns was tasked with going to In-N-Out and getting like an escort back.
Yeah.
This is for Andy Reid after he wins the Super Bowl.
Now,
I don't know what they would have done with it because they probably already had it already.
Reid did say he could smell the onions.
Yeah, he did.
So it must have been fresh-ish. But I don't know. He didn't take a bite out of it on air.
No, I wish he had.
that would have been
have.
That would have been epic TV. But I think in general, that whole NFL primetime, that was great stuff.
Listen, man, I understand why people don't love Chris Berman these days because it's, it feels a little bit like a parody of the good old days of NFL primetime and all of that. I love him, man. Like there is nothing to me like hearing Chris Berman do an NFL highlight. And I watch the NFL Plus ESPN Plus version of primetime fairly often when it's on. Booger McFarland is so funny. He is so funny. And I don't think he always intends to be funny.
Definitely not.
But you want to talk about a parody? When people joke about the old primetime and Tom Jackson going, absolutely, Boom. You're right about that, Boom. Booger does it like he's reading off a script. Like, right about that, Boom. It's just so good. By the way, speaking of Andy Reid, before we hear from his press conference this morning, I'm going to share this on YouTube. I will describe it to you listening on the radio. So we've got a picture here from last night's celebration. Andy Reid is dressed again in his full suit with his Hank Stram jacket that has the Chiefs logo on the lapel.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got him in the middle, joined by Travis Kelce, Ludacris, Mark Donovan, and Donovan and Kelce are throwing up 3 fingers for 3 championships. I can't tell who the other gentlemen are back here. 2 have sunglasses on. And I'm sure they're players. I just can't tell who they are.
Is that Snead?
I thought one of them was Snead, but I wasn't 100% sure. It's one of the more remarkable pictures. Luda's got his huge, Atlanta Braves logo, A-Town ring on. It's incredible. It really is. Travis Kelce, there's video all over Twitter today of him and Taylor Swift partying last night. Man, they look
like they were having a great time.
Really nice.
Did you see the video of Reid after the game with Peter King breaking down the final play?
Yeah, so he's reading off his call sheet, and King is just writing it down and is just asking him questions like, so what is the trigger to get McCole Hardman in motion? And Andy says, he's reading off the play. You can tell the play is drawn up for one guy.
Yeah.
It is a one route play.
Yeah, one-way play, they call it. And they don't have a lot of those. He explains in the video.
Yeah, this one only goes right, and we don't have a lot of that. And it's only for 12. That's remarkable, man.
Corn dog
really
with a little mustard and ketchup.
A little mustard and ketchup. That's so good. That's so good. Let's hear what Big Red had to say earlier on this morning.
All right. It's an honor to stand before you. I bring the team with me. We appreciate all the support from Las Vegas. This is a new experience for them, and the hospitality was absolutely phenomenal. The Raider organization for allowing us to practice in their facility and being one of our rivals, but they did that with class. Their equipment guys and field crew were just absolutely first class. And then for our organization and all the great work that they did at the beginning to set everything up for us was unbelievable. The hotel that we stayed at, the people there were great. So all in all, a good trip. All of those things were positive, whether we won or lost. And then, excuse me, but we were able to pull one out. That game could have gone either way. I think we all know that. Kyle and the 49ers, John, all those guys are class act, and they've done a heck of a job there. So we felt like it was the 2 best teams in football playing each other, strong in our own rights in certain spots, and it was a good clash and presented the world really a heck of a football game. And they got an extra quarter of it, which is even a more beautiful thing. So with that, if you have questions.
Good morning, Andy, and congratulations.
Thank
a couple of things for you. First off, I think I understood you to say after the game last night, you're coming back for another season. Is that right?
Yep.
All right.
To hang with you.
We are. Good reason then.
That's it.
Why not ride off into the sunset at this point for you?
You know, Adam, I honestly haven't even thought about it, but I get asked it. I mean, I'm still kind of in awe of the game and what went on there. So I really haven't thought why or what or anything else, but people keep asking me. And I keep saying, why did Belichick and Pete retire? You know, those guys, they ask those old guys the question, but I'm the old guy now. So I guess I'm going to be asked that. I really haven't gone there. I haven't really thought about it.
What is your team's place in history at this point mean to you?
Yeah, well, listen, it's history. How you write it will be how you write it, and whether it's a dynasty, we don't determine if it's a dynasty. You guys do. So, but I would tell you that it's as fine a group as I've been around. And I've been very fortunate to have been around some great organizations and good teams. And this group here and organization are tremendous. And if somebody said dynasty and tagged it onto it, I'd be very proud of that.
Andy, first time for the new overtime rules in a postseason game. Can you share with us what you would have done if you had won the toss?
Yeah, so that can go either way. So we would have kicked the ball off. The officials actually are on top of it right away. They're on it. There were still a couple seconds on the clock, and we have the extra officials on the sideline, and they were asking me what we would do, and I said we would kick off. Made sure Patrick was on board with it. He was the one who had to go out and do that with the officials. So. And then Dave Tobe making sure that he was there. But that we had already gone through all of that. The advantage of having Mike Frazier is he, like I'm sure their guy did, does all these studies, and we had it all mapped out. We were able to cover it with the guys, and so everybody knew. Now, when it happened, with that amount of time on the clock, I think we were all like, "Whoa," So I know what McCole said there. We just had this hard-fought fight, and all of a sudden, it's a walk-off. It's a weird feeling that way.
Andy,
Yes,
good morning. For the third consecutive Chiefs Super Bowl, you guys overcame a 10-point deficit. How does that compound and help build the belief?
Yeah, Sam. It's like that last climb to the observatory, Sam. The last 100 yards, man. The guys never doubt. They see it, they know what they have to do, and they never doubt themselves. It helps that this guy over here is on our team, and he set such a positive attitude for everybody. And between Patrick, Kelsey, Chris Jones, I could name a bunch of them. There's never any finger pointing. There's never any doubt. And we went in at halftime down by 7, and the guys go, "We're right there," and we just need to take care of business. We shot ourselves in the foot a little bit in the first half offensively, but the defense kept us going. That's kind of how the season was. It was a little bit of a microcosm of the season and how it's gone. But the guys they hung together, and special teams had a couple nice plays, big plays, and then the offense got moving, and the defense kept pounding them. It worked out okay.
All right, we're going to go 3 more. We'll start right here.
Andy, Jason Leisure with the Chicago Sun-Times. You mentioned Patrick Mahomes, the advantage of having him. How much margin does he give you in the sense that you don't need everything to be perfect for you guys to have a chance?
Yeah, well, I tell everybody it's all perfect, exactly how we called it. He makes it look easy. I would tell you that. And this is a fluid game with the best athletes in this sport in the world, and you narrowed it down to the top 2 teams in the world. And he's out there playing like he's playing in the backyard, like it's nothing. And the 4th down play was a naked throw, and he said, "I want that play, and if it's not there for the throw, I'm running it." And so from a head coaching standpoint, a guy that works with offensive guys, all you can ask for. Yeah.
Back there. Yeah, Andy, I'm going to follow up on Blair's question. Could you, I guess, share a little bit of the analysis that led you to the choice of the fact that you were kicked off? And now that you've seen the overtime play out, the new rules, did that change your thinking at all? And if it comes up again?
No. So there are a couple things in there that we do. I mentioned Mike Frazier, our analytics chief there. He does all the work on it. And so, like I said, it can go either way. But the one thing it does, it gives you an opportunity to see what you've got to do. And they came down and scored 3 points. You've either got to score 3 or you got to get a touchdown. The one thing that people didn't realize is that clock keeps going. So we were down low there, but you're fixing to start a new quarter. So the game wasn't over in a tie. That wasn't happening, not in the playoffs. And so we would keep playing, and that's it's a unique rule. It doesn't get used very often, but I think it was great for the National Football League. It was great for the viewers of the National Football League. They got an extra quarter of football, and people love this thing. It's a great sport, and people love watch it. So, especially with the competition level so high.
Last question right here. Congratulations, Andy.
Thank you.
You've done something that a number of teams have done before, winning 2 in a row. The Packers did it early on, the Patriots most recently. You're being called a dynasty. What does it mean to you to maybe try to do something no team has ever done and win 3 in a row?
Yeah, that'd be something. I don't know. Yeah, I just asked that to this guy right here, Ted. I said, has anybody won it 3 times? And he goes, no. I said, all right. We'll see. I mean, we've got great competition in the AFC West. We just had some coaching hirings, and these guys are good football coaches with good quarterbacks, good teams. And so it's not going to just be easy. That's not how this thing rolls. We'll have changeover on our team, which every team has, so you don't know what's there. There's a whole lot of unexpected, and you got to keep battling through it, have a good off season, and then good training camp, and then that ball's shaped kind of funny, so it's got to bounce for you in the right direction. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I don't think a lot about that, but that would, I think that would be pretty neat, neat thing to do. But you don't really go there when you're in this thing. You go back to your dark room and the film and the draft coming up and the combine, all those things. That's kind of where you go. You're not talking three-peat. You're, some guys do, but it'd be great.
So that is Andy Reid at his press conference earlier this morning. A couple of things that were very funny. One, saying, has anyone ever won 3 before? No. Huh. All right. Okay. That's very funny. We also have a text in here from the 785 that says, what happened to with that time's yours? He does sound like he had a rather late night.
Yeah, he forgot his line.
Yeah. Our pal Adam Teicher had questions for him.
Man, look, he was going hard in the paint with Ludacris last night. You're lucky he made it there at all.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. That's Andy Reid, though.
What do you think Andy Reid's favorite Ludacris song is?
Get low, get low, get low.
That's Yin Yang Twins.
Yin Yang Wait, no, what is it then? He has a song just like that, doesn't he?
I don't think Ludacris
Luda has a song just like that.
I don't know why we're debating
How
this.
Low by Ludacris? How low can you? Okay,
how
yeah.
low can you go?
That's Luda.
That's what it is.
No, the correct answer is obviously Move, Bitch.
Yes. I was wondering if you were going to say it. All right, we have to get to a time now. It's been a great show. We've got 1 hour left of 580 Sports Talk coming up after the news. now, final hour of a Super Bowl Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. That's Dan Lucero. That is Spencer Dupuis. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Recapping what was a thrilling, because that's all the Chiefs do in the Super Bowl, save for the one they lost. All they do in the Super Bowl, win thrillers, 25-22 over the San Francisco 49ers. By the way, I was the closest to the final score.
Yeah,
I was going to say that.
It was very impressive.
If only they'd kicked the damn extra point.
Are we going to go over our prop outcomes later on in the show?
Yeah, we probably should. I did not win. Let's just say that right up front. I did not
either. Win. I guess Dan's the winner.
If you'd have bet with me, you'd come out smelling like a rose last night.
Let's see. What did I hit? I've got my note right in front of me. I hit on MVS over 1.5 receptions.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit on shortest touchdown over 1.5 yards. I lost on McCaffrey 2+ touchdowns. Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns. Longest reception, George Kittle. It's a shame he never even played in the game. The 49ers did score in the fourth quarter. There were no 2-point conversions. Jimmy Butler did not play against the Celtics. So
you're cross sport.
Yeah, that one didn't pan out. Opening kickoff was for a touchback, and Usher did not play. OMG. Did you see, though, there was drama over that one?
They did do OMG.
Yeah, they did.
Well,
they didn't open with OMG.
They didn't open with it. Did you see there was drama over the opener, though? So at least one book that had offered this, and I'm sure it was most of the sports books. So he played a few notes and a few bars from one song, and then I gotta go find out which songs they were.
He mashed up songs together.
Yes, he did exactly to open it. Where is it here? Yes. Okay. So My Way, a few bars, a few seconds of My Way played, but then the first song that he actually sang was Caught Up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the book said Caught Up is the winner, because that's the first one he actually did. He performed. Yeah. So people who bet My Way were saying, whoa. But this one's the one that started playing first. No, that's not what won. There was some drama there.
Fascinating. Yeah. I was not aware of that.
I lost either way, though. Yeah. Not good for me.
I gave you anytime touchdowns for both Jawan Jennings and McCole Hardman.
Yeah.
And I put 25 of my 100 nuggies on the Chiefs money line. I did the math on it. If you had bet with me, down the line, I lost the other 7 bets. Don't worry about those. But the 3 I won, you would have ended up over $300.
That's pretty good. So what in the end, what would you have ended up net then?
Net would have been,
round 2?
Net would have been 260.
Okay. All right, we'll take that. Which one? Did you only hit the one?
No, I hit 2. That put $10 on showing Taylor Swift over 5.5 times. Should have made that a little bit higher.
Yeah, apparently so.
It was 12 times for 53 seconds, but who's counting? And then I got half the parlay that I did. No Pacheco anytime, no Kelsey anytime touchdown, but the Kelsey 7+ catches did hit.
So you didn't get anything.
I didn't get anything. The under 23.5 in the first half.
They don't pay out half a parlay.
All right, whatever. But I did get right $15 or 15 of my, as Annie Reid says, nuggies. Went on McCaffrey receiving touchdown was the first touchdown.
That's a good one.
And that was a good one. And then I was 2 away from getting Mahomes and Purdy to complete 25+. Mahomes had 34 completions. Purdy had 23.
Yeah, Purdy came close.
Yeah, pretty dang close. But other than that, I was way off. I mean, we both went on the Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns. He was at 2.
Yeah.
McCaffrey 2+, didn't score or only scored 1. Yeah, that was really it. I had my own personal money on the parlay, and then each team scoring a touchdown and a field goal in each half, which wasn't too far off.
No, you just needed the
I just needed the Chiefs to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
In the first half.
In the first half.
You know what they call bets that aren't too far off? They call them losers.
Man.
And that is why I don't bet.
2 things.
I am all too familiar with it, believe me. I'm just the predicting that McCole Hardman would score a touchdown. That is That is like my Babe Ruth called shot here. Like,
I was happy.
It got to plus 1,900. When we were on the show on Friday, I think it was plus 1,200.
Wow.
It got to 1,900 before kickoff.
Did you actually put real monies on that?
Real American dollars.
You must have come out pretty darn good.
I did. Thank you for asking. I'm up over 10 units for yesterday.
A couple of quick things here that I wanted to touch on before we get to our headlines for today. And we will talk more Super Bowl in a little bit. We'll get to the other stuff, if you will, the commercials, the halftime show, all of that coming up in just a little bit. We will also shout out some of the unsung heroes, the under-the-radar performers. We'll get to that in a few minutes as well. Two things. One, from the text line, the 785. I had Chiefs giving 3.5 on the alternate line. I was really hoping for that PAT.
I also had that.
Might have taken it from you. Additionally, I wanted to note this real quick. Do you know how long Taylor Swift was on TV yesterday?
How long? Like,
I just said it.
Yeah,
like 53 seconds.
Oh, yeah, 54 seconds.
54.
That's all. 54 seconds on TV. Dude, like, I don't know. She seems like a pretty cool girlfriend. Like, she comes and supports her guy doing all his stuff and, give him a big hug after the game. Like, I don't know, man. She seems pretty cool and she seems pretty into it.
There's I don't know if it was on TV. It might have been I saw it on Twitter, where she chugged a beer or something.
Yeah, they showed her on the Jumbotron and people booed, which I'm sure that's never happened to her.
Probably not.
And then, she chugged a beer. I don't know if that rallied the crowd back to her side or what, but no, like, Taylor Swift is obviously a household name, and it's okay if her music's not your cup of tea. I don't ride around Topeka bumping Reputation. Like that's not exactly my cup of tea either. But like, she seems like a fairly normal person and a very supportive partner for Travis Kelce. And if you're hating on those things, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
that's a reflection of you.
The only thing I'm gonna hate on here is because of all of this and her getting women to be more, specifically Swifties, to be more into football, is that you got these boyfriends of these people making cringy Instagram captions. I'm not going to call out, but somebody I know said, "I am karma." And I just died laughing at it.
The Instagram boyfriends.
Hey, if it opens the door to be able to share something with your partner or your daughter in a way that maybe you weren't able to share that with them before, like, how's that not a win?
No, I was just talking about the cringy Instagram captions. I could go without seeing that.
No, I get what you're saying though. Like, you get to share something that is a good thing. That's why it's absolutely a good thing. And
there was a great feature on ESPN's Sunday NFL Countdown about that too. They had a few dads out there saying that, hey, this is now a thing that I can do with my daughter in a way that we really didn't share before. And
that's cool.
We share it now. Yeah, that's a win, man. That's a win for everybody involved. And if it took Taylor Swift, then who cares if you don't like her music? Obviously, a lot of people do. And, maybe just let people enjoy things.
Also, like, I saw people complaining today. They cut to her in her box right away. They could have shown something else in the field. Yeah, dude, I would have much rather have seen Clark Hunt pumping his fists at the end of the game, because that's always the shot. You show the immediate score, a quick celebration with the quarterback, and then the owner. Yeah, I really missed out on seeing Clark Hunt. Give me a break. Also, if you're complaining about all the shots of the press box and her suite, that means you're complaining about extra shots of Blake Lively too, in which case, like, you and I are not the same. And you and I are not in the same camp on that one.
Or, as she was known during some of the pregame coverage, the other woman in the Chiefs gear. Like, she's
just like one of the more.
Or what's that chick's name that was also in there with her?
Thinking of Ice Spice.
Ice Spice.
One of the funniest things I saw all day, and I had to show Abby the video of this, is they show about an hour and a half before kickoff, Jason Kelce is walking around upstairs. He walks up and he and Taylor Swift give each other this big old hug. And you can see her say, "And this is my friend Ice Spice." And he like daintily bends over. Like, "Hi, I'm Jason. Nice to meet you."
No, it was very respectful.
It was extremely respectful,
Yes.
but it was so funny. He was so like delicate. It's like, "Hello, I'm Jason."
It's
so funny.
I love that those two are friends. Like, fame makes for strange bedfellows, and not literally all the time, but I love the fact that Taylor Swift, like the songstress of her generation, who has written some powerful lyrics and music that have obviously resonated with girls and women of this generation, happens to be friends with a woman whose latest single has the word fart in parentheses as part of the title. I can't say the full title of the song.
Yep.
I'm not allowed to
Nope.
on the radio, but there's parentheses, fart, close parentheses is the end of that song. So, like, again, we live in amazing times.
Why don't we get to some headlines real quick, and then we'll get back to Super Bowl coverage in a moment. Some of the big news elsewhere around the world of sports today. KU is in action tonight. Big Monday down in Lubbock. The Jayhawks are down a couple of spots in this week's AP poll. Not really a surprise after the K-State loss. So KU is now down to number 6 in the poll this week. Additionally, no Kevin McCullough tonight. Still not good to go. Short turnaround. Not a surprise. That stinks, and I assume KU is going to lose tonight. If KU wins, I will feel great. That'll be a big-time important win in terms of resume. Not that KU needs it to get in, but you know what I'm talking about. In terms of the Big 12 race, winning a road game against a good team matters. Lubbock is a really hard place to play. That crowd is always great. They're going to play hard. I don't expect KU to win tonight. We do know that Jamari McDowell, he's still sick. He's not going to play. Dwan Harris is going to give it a go.
Are we going to get jank rotation minutes tonight?
Okay, I'm going to say it's such a meathead thing. I don't remember if I said this the other day. I mean this wholeheartedly. Why can he not get at least one shot at some of those Timberlake minutes?
After Saturday, he might get all the Timberlake minutes.
Dude, he is. I've been patient. I've been hopeful. He twice in a row just completely left a three-point shooter alone on the perimeter with shots that could have tied the game. It's unbelievable. And he can't make shots. It's so frustrating. Why not? Seriously, at this point, why not? At least Jank's been around for a long time. He's a
coach's kid. He knows how to play.
He can shoot. He's like one of the most efficient three-point shooters in KU history. I mean,
yeah,
we understand the context, but why not?
Look, Bill Self was obviously at his wit's end. They asked him after the game about Timberlake's performance, and all Bill Self could say was, well, we won.
Yeah.
Which tells you all you need to know. And yes, to clarify, because we did have a text just to make sure. Dwan Harris is going to play. I give him so much credit for being out there tough or not. I mean, he's as tough as it gets, man. But I don't know how closely you guys got to watch the final play of that game. KU goes up 3. Baylor's got one chance with 5 seconds left to get down the court
They just
shoot.
didn't guard the high ball screen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick. But, I mean, Harris couldn't move, though, man. He's trotting backwards. I mean, he could barely move.
Yeah.
So, I don't have very high expectations for tonight.
And that was a bad, not the greatest showing. I mean, obviously, you're down a bunch of players.
I've never seen Self so mad after a win.
Yeah. I mean, he said it. He said, I'm pretty sure in his own words, he said, this is the least happy I've ever been after a win in my whole career.
They would pull ahead comfortably. They were up by 12 with 7 minutes left. It's like, all right, yeah, they're taking care of business. And then they would forget to guard the 3-point line. And I think they made one field goal the last 5.5 minutes.
I believe that is true.
It's incredible that they won that game. And they probably will get beat tonight. I suspect that they will get beat tonight. And I also don't think that Bill Self cares all that much at this point. I don't think broader conversation for when we have more time for it, but I don't think they care about the Big 12 championship this year.
1000% agree with you.
And
1000%.
Self said as much, and he took some heat for it, but I think that he's right about the league championship in the regular season not meaning what it used to since it's not around Robin anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they care. I really don't. I think they will be totally fine if they go into the tournament like UConn last year as a 4 seed and just play your best basketball for six games and you can win a national championship because they already know what their best looks like.
Agreed.
They're not. I really don't think they're all that concerned about the rest. They know they can beat great teams. They've done it with their starting 5. Just get to the tournament, get healthy, and go from there. Not worry about the other stuff.
By the way, real quick, the K-State women, they're up a spot this week. They're now number 7 in the AP women's basketball
They
poll.
barely held on Saturday.
Yeah. Hey, man, Big 12 women's hoops is that's
and
a grinder.
we talked last week with about the K-State women's hoops, and they could be getting Ioka Lee back here soon for limited minutes. But still, I mean, the fact they're hanging where they have been, just that team in general has got a lot of players.
Yeah, got to get her back out there as soon as they can. Dan, what you got?
We got some NFL transactions. The Pittsburgh Steelers have released quarterback Mitch Trubisky. They also released their punter Presley Harvin and a couple of other moves. But the way Mike Garafolo reported it for NFL Network is that it is a mutual parting of the ways between the Steelers and Mitchell Trubisky, which is basically the Steelers saying, look, man, I'm sorry, you're not good enough to actually challenge Kenny Pickett for the starting job, which is damning. And Mitchell Trubisky saying, well, I guess the itinerant life of a backup is the life for me. I wonder where he ends up.
I'm sure someone will give him a shot.
The Arlington Renegades.
He'd probably be decent in that league. Here's the thing. It's not often that a team uses multiple first-round picks on quarterbacks within a decade, and one of them hits the market this early. But that's what the case is for the Chicago Bears. The best quarterback they have spent a first-round pick on in the last 7 years is now available.
Hey, he got into the playoffs, something that Justin Fields has not done.
Yep. Where's your 400-yard game, Justin? Where's your 6-touchdown game? That happened. That really happened.
Yes, and Matt Nagy was calling the plays. That all happened.
Life is so funny. It really is. You have a headline for us, Spencer?
Yeah, not on here. I was just thinking about it. So Mike Zimmer officially named Cowboys defensive coordinator.
Yep.
He was on Friday, kind of the target. It seemed like things were going very well. And something over the weekend, they hit a snag before they got to this conclusion. Now, it was reported on NFL Countdown yesterday. Adam Schefter joined to talk about the latest news, and he said, it looks like Mike Zimmer is going to be the defensive coordinator down in Dallas. And who's on that countdown set? A guy that interviewed for that job in Rex Ryan. And he says, I'm not too sure that he has that job 100% yet. And then Schefter was on McAfee earlier, and they asked him about that, and he explained, I guess Rex Ryan had gotten a text saying, are you still interested? We haven't 100% decided yet. And then I guess Rex said no.
Interesting.
So now Zimmer is the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys.
Hey, it's a pretty good hire for the Cowboys. Like, Rex Ryan's been out of the game a while.
Well, and even at the end of his time in the game, it wasn't going all that well. So, some guys are able to be great, and like Andy Reid has played. He's been a head coach since 1999 or 1998, whatever it is. I think 98. And I mean, he's been able to adapt and change while the core stuff is still there. He has grown with the game. Some guys can't, man. And I think Rex Ryan was clearly one of those guys. Zimmer is probably happy he doesn't have to deal with quarterbacks anymore. He hated Kirk Cousins so much. He hated that guy so much. Loved Teddy Bridgewater, though, because Teddy would just shut up and do what he was told.
Yeah.
And I like Teddy Bridgewater, too, but man, he hated Kirk Cousins. That does it for our quick round of 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. When we come back, the unsung heroes of Super Bowl 58. I think we probably should at least quickly bring up the Kelsey Reed thing, even though I think it's been blown out of proportion. Plus, commercials, halftime, all that. We'll get to it coming up on 580 Sports Talk.
First and goal at the 3. Lining up in the clock at 10 seconds and ticking. In the shotgun, Mahomes. 4-man front, receiver in motion, low snap. He runs and he throws, caught, touchdown. It's caught. Hardman caught the ball. The Chiefs have won. The Chiefs have won. The entire bench empties, chasing Mahomes in the end zone. Their third Super Bowl in 5 years. The Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions. It is a dynasty. The Chiefs have won Super Bowl 58, 25-22 in overtime.
The great, incomparable Kevin Harlan on the Westwood One broadcast of last night's Super Bowl, which you heard right here on 580 WIBW. Back many years ago now, when Kevin was the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, you ever think he dreamed of saying that the Chiefs are a dynasty, that they've won back-to-back in 3 and 5 years? I think that ever even crossed his mind in his wildest dreams.
I don't think at any point you dream about your team being a dynasty. I mean, that's pretty far-fetched. You just hope you get one. Then you get one, it'd be nice to get another.
Kevin is the best of the best. The great, great, great Kevin Harlan. I bet it feels a little bit different watching the Chiefs do it, if I had to guess.
Oh, sure.
I would have to
as a national voice, most definitely.
Yeah, that is just really, really, really cool. And what a perfect call. Both Kevin Harlan and Mitch Holthus, the absolute best at what they do. Brendan, Dan, Spencer here with you on 580 Sports Talk. We've talked about them throughout the day, but I wanted to make sure we gave some shout-outs here, and there are so many that we could get to. So give me a shout-out or two to your favorite under-the-radar, non-superstar, low-profile players for the Chiefs who came up with big plays yesterday.
I got to start with the player who was graded the highest of any player in the game by Pro Football Focus. And Pro Football Focus grades are what they are. Like, it's not the Bible. It's not the be-all, end-all of player evaluation, but it's still noteworthy when it's a player nobody would have guessed. If you'd given people 20 names of the stars of this game and said, them or the field, who do you got is the most highest graded PFF player of the Super Bowl? This would not have been one of those players. This would have been the field. Leo Chanel was outstanding. Yep. And he did a little bit of everything. And I do mean a little bit of everything. Pass rush, run support, coverage, blocked an extra point that ended up being massive. Chanel kind of got forgotten about this year in the linebacker mix because obviously Nick Bolton's the headline guy in that room as the middle linebacker, and Drew Tranquil was the big offseason pickup. And when we think of the athletic linebacker of the group, we think about Willie Gay and what he's brought to the team. But Leo Chanel had a role to play all season long, and he was excellent. He did exactly what the Chiefs needed him to do. He's a big part of the reason, even if he didn't rack up a bunch of tackles, he's a big part of the reason why the Chiefs got a handle on the 49ers running game throughout the night. And oh yeah, that block kick again ended up being pretty massive. So Leo Chanel, like the hidden Super Bowl MVP, honestly, for what he was able to do and how Steve Spagnuolo was able to deploy him even against those death lineups that the 49ers like to run out there with those great skill guys that they have. It can be tough. It can be tempting to not run 3 linebackers out there, but Spags stuck with it, trusted Chanel, and Chanel delivered his best game as a Chief.
How about for you, Spencer?
It has to be Jalen Watson.
Had the fumble recovery.
The fumble recovery, which earlier today, Matt Verderame said was he thought was the play that turned it around for the Chiefs and gave them the momentum to score that touchdown when they were nowhere even close to scoring a touchdown earlier in the game.
Yeah, that was absolutely massive. And, Ray McCloud, people were freaking out at him. Why are you even going for that ball? Well, he had to. It hit one of his teammates. It was actually a smart play by McCloud to go after it, not just let it roll. The problem is you got to go down on the ball. You just have to fall on it. And I understand when you're a punt returner, that's really not in your nature, but you've just got to fall on it. And it's a great job by Watson, who last year was so good down the stretch and into the postseason and into the Super Bowl. This year has really kind of fallen out of favor in the rotation, but comes up with a big play when it matters most. I mean, you could name any number of guys. Mike Pennell was awesome.
Shout out to Mike Pennell.
I love this dude.
Like, number one, you're that far along in the league. You're wearing number 69 is a choice, and it's a choice that I support wholeheartedly. So shout out to Mike Pennell for making that particular uniform number decision. Very nice of him. Also, Mike Pennell really suits the interest of this particular radio program. He was born here in the capital city of Kansas. He attended Grandview High School in Aurora, Colorado, which is also where I went to high school. So he is very closely tied to this program in many ways.
Oh, well, let's also not forget who signed him out of college. The Green Bay Packers.
There you go. See, more and more. So Pennell, was great. And I think there was some real concern going into this game. Obviously, how are the Chiefs going to stop Christian McCaffrey? How are they going to handle on that 49er running game? And how are they going to do it without two starters up front? Because they were down Charles Omenihu and they were down Derek Nottie. And Mike Pennell, a street pickup late this season, was instrumental. And I thought he was a hidden hero the first time the Chiefs won a Super Bowl, back Super Bowl 54.
Agreed.
When he was on that team. I thought he was a hidden hero that year. Just a plugger, but somebody who made significant impact playing the run, standing up his matchup, winning his matchup one-on-one. Yeah, Mike Pennell played a great game.
They're not the same kind of player, so it's a comparison more so for circumstance than it is for anything else. You know, he reminds me of a little bit Snacks Harrison. Snacks Harrison was very popular because his name was, he went by Snacks, which is incredible. But small school guy. Pennell went to CSU Pueblo. Damon Harrison was an NAIA guy. He went to William Penn, defensive lineman who played for a really long time, played for damn near every team in the NFL, never stuck with anyone for more than a year or two, often got signed mid-season, but just always made plays. Always. That was Snacks Harrison for forever, it felt like, and that's been Mike Pennell. Pennell has now been on 3 of the Chiefs' 4 teams that played in the Super Bowl, signed late with all of them. He was a practice squad elevation yesterday.
Yeah.
He was sick. That was so great. He's an awesome player. We had Vance on YouTube mentioned earlier the TFL for King Felix in the first half.
So Felix played 7 snaps, but that was one of them. And very cool for him to get that opportunity after notably not being active for the previous 3 playoff games. You knew his snaps were probably going to be limited. They were going to ride their first 4 guys. They were going to ride Wharton and Jones and Dana and Karlaftis. We were going to see a lot of those 4 and the snaps behind those guys. You rotate the tackles more than you rotate the ends, but there weren't going to be a lot of snaps probably in this game for King Felix, but he made them count, and that was pretty cool. And that's definitely something for him to build on as he enters next season when he'll probably be in a larger role for this team.
Yep, 100% in agreement on that. McCole Hardman, obviously, that goes without saying. I thought Justin Watson came up big a couple of times in the game, had a couple of big catches.
It is stunning that Patrick Mahomes was 9 of 13 for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns when throwing to Watson, Hardman, and Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, it is insane. Truly insane.
The true triangle. They were there all along, and they were deployed at absolutely the right time. Paul in the YouTube comments says Juwan Taylor and Donovan. Sure, either was flat. They were not. Your memory serves you correctly, Paul. No flags for either Donovan Smith or Juwan Taylor. They gave as good as they got, is what I will say, because I think certainly Nick Bosa, I think he had 10 quarterback pressures in the game. Chase Young got a sack on Donovan Smith where Smith didn't even get a hand on him. They weren't great, but were they good enough? And did they actively hurt the team by committing bad penalties? No, they did not. I think they played as well as you could have asked them to play and held up, particularly down the stretch, as well as you could have asked them to hold up.
I've got another one.
Hit me with it.
You and I talked about his impact in the game earlier today off the air, and you gave me a good reason why he might have even played in the game when he could have not played. I'm talking about Jerick McKinnon. He made a catch on a 3rd down late in the 4th quarter that got them a first down to get into field goal range, eventually get into field goal range and tie the game.
That was a check at the line, too.
Yeah.
McKinnon was in there. McKinnon got a lot of 3rd down snaps, and that's
16 total.
That's what Jerick McKinnon's bread and butter is for this team, is being a 3rd down guy, being a pass protector. He was in on the first 3rd down, so that was made it pretty clear that was going to be his role all night. But that particular third down, obviously, huge play in the game. Exactly what the Chiefs needed to keep the chains moving. It was a great audible by Mahomes. He checked to that play because he saw the pressure coming from the 49ers beforehand. And Jerick McKinnon made a play. And it was nice to see him involved after he had missed. He had been out since December 17th. And obviously got to do it against his former team. Pretty neat moment.
I think that was huge because Brennan brought it up to me. He's been often injured in his career.
I wonder, and I was wondering this out loud, and if he wants to come back and play with the Chiefs or elsewhere, more power to him. I was wondering if he thought this might be it. He has played for a long time. He's in his 30s now as a running back who has had a lot of injuries. It is a miracle. You know what I mean by miracle. But it was incredible that he was able to get onto the field, period, let alone was out there in pass protection, huge snap to the game like you just mentioned. Made me wonder if he thought this was going to be his last hurrah. And to play it against the 49ers after, when these two teams faced in Super Bowl 54, he was on injured reserve, but he was signed by the 49ers. Didn't get to play in that game against the Chiefs. Obviously has been such a key part of the Chiefs over the last 3 seasons. Just wondering out loud, maybe that is the case for Jet McKinnon. One other one, I got to give a shout out to Noah Gray. Just 2 catches in the game. Did make a big mistake early on the Pacheco fumble. He did get beaten and actually was pushed into Pacheco that jarred the ball loose in the first half after the big McCole Hardman catch. He was eating up Nick Bosa at the end of the game, blocking down low on that outside run that sprung Pacheco for that 9-yard gain. A couple plays in a row, he was left out there blocking out Nick Bosa. Big play, big day for type 1 diabetes. Champion again in the type 1 diabetes world. Let's get to another time out here on 580 Sports Talk, shall we? And when we come back, everything else that happens on Super Bowl Sunday, what did we think of the commercial? The halftime show with Usher and company. And Tony Romo this weekend. To use a football coaching term, I would burn the page. We'll break it down next on 580 Sports Talk. Can you name a song by Ram Jam other than Black Betty?
Sure can.
Super Bowl halftime, Ram Jam. I don't know if any of the members of Ram Jam are still around.
They were active for 2 years. Active in 1977 and 1978.
Jeez.
Man, I'll tell you what, though. That's a hell of a 2 years.
That's amazing. Wow. Those guys are still probably making so much money.
They had 2 songs. They had 1 song chart in the United States. Black Betty, 1977. They had 2 songs, however, chart in Australia and the UK. Black Betty in 1977 and the Ben Liebrand remix of Black Betty in 1990. I don't know who Ben Liebrand is. He is a Dutch dance music DJ and remixer.
Oh. There was also a cover of Black Betty by a band called Spiderbait, I believe, a few years ago. It was really bad. It was really, really bad.
Yeah. No, yeah, it sucked. I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't remember where I heard it. I just know it sucked.
It was like new metal Black Betty.
Yeah, we didn't need new metal Black Betty. No.
Crazy ass moments in new metal history.
We're probably headed to new metal Super Bowl at some point. New metal Super Bowl halftime show. I don't know when that will be.
Yeah, all y'all who are making Creed jokes, you better watch out. Because your generation, if you were once upon a time a Creed fan, that is who the halftime shows are getting catered to now.
So we've cracked the seal on hip hop R&B halftime shows.
Mm-hmm.
Next year is in New Orleans. Lil Wayne will do it.
Okay.
And Lil Wayne should do it.
Is the NFL going to let a guy who went to federal prison do it?
Michael Vick went to federal prison. He got to play again.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different.
Is it?
I would say so. I think the standards the NFL has for what it wants people to believe it is versus the standards for its actual players are very different. I mean, Leonard Little killed a man.
Yeah. Got to come back and play.
Got to come back and play.
Sure did. All right, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, everybody has made that connection, though. I'm just being more contrarian than I need to be. People would be going crazy for it. You know that's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I don't know how this went over in the Drzezinski household, but I'm gonna tell you this: the halftime show is about to start, and my wife's sitting downstairs. We're in our basement, and my wife is sitting on the couch next to me, and she leans over to me and says, "You know, I always thought Usher was really cute." I mean, we are just about to start the halftime show. And I say, that's great. Why are you telling me this now? And then no more than 10 minutes later, Usher proceeds to take off his shirt. And I don't know what y'all look like without a shirt on. I can tell you what I look like without a shirt on, and it ain't like that. Firmly, it ain't like that. So,
man, he's like taking the shirt off, and feeling himself.
I really, at that point, I could have leaned over to my wife and said, "Hey, babe, the Chiefs are going to lose the Super Bowl by 35 points," and I don't think she would have cared. I don't think she would have cared one bit.
What'd you say?
5 minutes into the third quarter, she leans over and said, "I just always thought Usher was cute." Why are you still bringing it up? Why you got to do me like this? And this is half of Usher's fault. They made it plain this was going to happen. They put this is rated U. Side effects may include relationship issues.
Yeah. I will say, I feel like that performance had like bunch of different like things about it. Like I thought when he came out, he was giving me like Michael Jackson vibes with the one glove and kind of the outfit.
Yeah.
And then he went to taking his shirt off. Then he went to skating.
Yeah,
and there was pole dancing behind him. Did you see the lady fall off the pole?
No.
That's hilarious.
I missed that. I was too busy seething. And also like tapping my toe because all the songs were really good. Like these are for an older, like my father-in-law didn't know any of them songs.
Yeah.
He knew that was it. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everyone knows yeah.
Yeah.
But here we are. I'm well into my 30s. You're close to your 30s. Spencer, I'm sure you have been to a school dance or a social.
I'll get my take on this after you take yours.
Where those songs you have heard, you are familiar with Usher's broader body of work.
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
No. Wow.
See, my take was I thought it was horrible in the first half of the performance. Just like the Chiefs. They had a horrible first half. Then the second half, he came out to play when he brought his friends on stage.
Like the
Alicia Keys?
Like,
man,
after Alicia Keys, I think it got better.
You know who was mad watching that Alicia Keys part? Swiss Beats. Alicia Keys' husband. I'm sure he was watching that, had steam coming out of his ears like a Looney Tune.
But then you got Luda, you got Turned Down for What, you got all this stuff I remember.
Little John, we got some great, we did.
I'm just mad they didn't play DJ Got Us Falling in Love.
I'm okay that they didn't play that song.
I was marking out when Lil Jon showed up, man. I really was. It is funny and very on brand. Every song got about 30 seconds, and then they did the entirety of Yeah. They played the whole song.
Oh, yeah. And they knew what that crowd would respond. I mean, people still respond to that song.
Yes.
Kids in high school now respond to that song.
Correct.
That song fills the dance floor and is always going to fill the dance floor.
Forever.
That song filled the dance floor at my senior prom, and that song is going to fill the dance floors at senior proms for many, many years to come.
Yeah.
I just wish you weren't such a handsome man. I really, that really bothered me. Usher, why'd you have to, you could have left the shirt on.
Alicia Keys was great, by the way.
Yes.
She was awesome.
Yeah, they got the sound mix a little better in the second half of the show. Sound mix was a little rough early on, but that's a pretty granular complaint. That was fun. Like, everybody on stage appeared to be having fun. Shout out for Jermaine Dupri, A, being there, and B, getting confused with CeeLo Green by
I did.
95% of the population.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Now, definitely JD.
Yeah.
And also shout out to me for being the target demographic now.
Yeah.
For now on, Super Bowl halftimes cater to me. My generation, our generation. We're done with the fuddy-duddies. We're done with Springsteen. We're never gonna see the Who again. We're the target demographic now.
I mean, even they're getting a little bit more edgy. Like, Bruno Mars is still a big name, but he hasn't put out music in a long time. He was a few years ago. I guess we did have Beyonce as a guest and as the actual performance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, we're moving into the millennial era of music now. We've moved on from Gen X.
Not my favorite halftime of all time, but it was good. It was enjoyable. The songs were good, and women of a certain age really liked it. I got a text from I'm in a group chat, and one of my buddies said it was like my wife was at a bachelorette party for those 15.
Oh my God.
For those 15, 30 minutes.
You know what wasn't fun? Tony Romo. We were talking about this a little bit earlier in the good, the bad, and the ugly. And look, we have all called games before. We have all called high school and college games before, including some very big games, and in various different environments and with different kinds of audiences and all of that. And sometimes you have a bad day. And my wife always asks me after I do a game, how'd you do? And there are times when I say, babe, I really did not do well. Like, this was not my finest day. I fumbled a couple words. You have heard this probably a million times. Sometimes I try to say 8 words at once and I don't get them all out clearly. Like, it just wasn't my finest day. Tony Romo, I would advise you go back and you listen to your entire broadcast from yesterday, and then next year, week 1, do literally the opposite of everything.
Yep. It was very clear that he had a directive from on high to calm down, because he was very subdued. I thought early in the game, like even in the pregame, like he was ratcheted down a couple of notches.
I think
like,
he
notably.
spoke on the criticism last week. They had like the conference call.
Yeah.
And he spoke on the criticism. So,
but yeah, man, he walked all over Jim Nantz and the game-winning touchdown, and he walked all over the moment in the images that should have been left alone. And like, I know that his job is to explain the play, and eventually he did. That's what he did, was explain the play. But we could have waited until the replay. We didn't need you yelling over. Like, yeah, he didn't have a lot of feel. He didn't have a lot of feel for the moment there, and it was too bad.
it'll be interesting to see next year. So, you know who has the broadcast rights next year?
Fox.
You know whose first year it'll be calling games?
Tom Brady.
Old touchdown Tom. Yeah.
How will he do in the big moment? And will he get a lot of grief if he doesn't do well?
Yes.
Or because he's Tom Brady, will he not get the grief?
I hope he does well, because I want
Yes.
I want to listen to a good product. I have my concerns, and I like Olsen a lot. I really do like Greg Olsen. I would like to hear him on a number 1 crew, whether he replaces Chris Collinsworth or Brady doesn't work out or whatever.
Or he replaces Romo, because they let Romo go.
Yeah, man,
They
he's
still owe
making
him a
so
lot
much
of money.
That's true.
I don't know what the contract details are for that, but
I think he's got 4 more years.
Making a little bit more than I think I make doing play-by-play.
yeah, just a shade more.
A little wee bit.
A couple more commas in the in the contract.
Reba looks like she hasn't aged. Back to going to the pregame stuff.
Reba freaking killed it.
She
did great.
killed it.
Yeah, Reba did a
She
nice
even
job.
let the Chiefs thing go. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
No.
she kind of paused so that everybody could get the Chiefs out.
Oh,
and
I didn't
then
pick up on that.
It was subtle, but it was just enough.
Good for her.
That, the crowd, the Chiefs portion of the crowd that was there could do the Chiefs thing, and then she could get into singing. You're not gonna walk on Reba.
No.
Yeah, Tony Romo might walk on Jim Nantz. You're not walking on Reba.
And then I talked about Post Malone. I think he did a great job with America the Beautiful.
He did a good job. Was it Andra Day? Was that the woman's name?
Audra
who
Day,
sang?
who did Lift Every Voice and Sing.
No, I thought she did a great job.
Yeah.
I thought the entertainment of the day was good. Like we said earlier, though, extremely forgettable commercials this year. Like nothing, there was no Mean Joe Green throwing the jersey.
No Terry Tate.
No Puppy Monkey Baby.
No what's that? In fact, I'm struggling to remember any beer commercials. Like the one Peyton Manning for Bud Light, and that was it.
Did
no.
Budweiser do the Clydesdales, or did
Yes,
I miss that?
There was a second half Clydesdales ad.
So I missed
must
that.
have blanked.
Did
that
Coke do a
completely.
commercial?
I don't know that Coke did. I do know there was a Michelob ad, the one with Messi.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
One of the 4 ads that had Dan Marino.
Yeah, Dan Marino got the M&M's nice try ring or whatever it was.
Yeah, man.
Almost winner.
I give him credit for doing that because if I was, I would be like 400 years past my Super Bowl failings. I still would never get over it if I was him.
I have to give one more shout out to Team Rough for breaking their 2-year drought and finally winning another Puppy Bowl. They took home a Puppy Bowl 20 under the watchful guidance of Coach Nick Furiani and an MVP performance from my favorite dog on the field, the Australian Shepherd Moosh. Moosh scored 2 big touchdowns, and Team Rough got it done. And the team that was coached by Kyle Shanahan lost, and that was foreshadowing.
I just saw someone tweet, people say Super Bowl commercials used to be great, and they are talking about when 4 guys said "What's up" for 60 seconds.
Correct.
Yeah,
they were, and it was.
We'll get to the final word coming up right after this on 580 Sports Talk. We're wrapping up a Super Bowl Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Tomorrow we are going to still be talking all things Chiefs Super Bowl. Michael Swain will also join us for some KU talk. Hopefully we'll get at least a Chiefs guest, if not multiple, on the show tomorrow. That's in the works. So tune in tomorrow from 2 until 5:45 or so. We've got high school hoops tomorrow, but roughly 2 to 6 tomorrow for 580 Sports Talk. But first, let's get to a final word. You are up first, Dan Lucero.
There's a famous moment in NBA history after the Houston Rockets won their second consecutive NBA championship back in 1995 when their head coach, Rudy Tomjanovich, tells the crowd on the podium as they're celebrating with the trophy, never underestimate the heart of a champion. And the Chiefs had their never underestimate the heart of a champion moment last night. This Chiefs team did not win it all because they had the best team, the most talent, the highest scoring offense. They did not overwhelm or overpower opponents throughout the year. They won this championship because they know how to win championships. Winning championships is the business they're in, and business is good because you've got the best coaching staff, you've got a great roster, you've got a general manager who's put together a team that works from 1 to 53, and you got Michael Jordan at quarterback. And so now this is the business that the Chiefs are in, championships.
This is what it feels like to have a team win a Lombardi trophy.
It is.
I wouldn't know what that is like. I still don't really know what it's like. I know a little bit though. It's been a fun ride. My first, I guess nearly a month.
Yeah.
Of time here covering the Chiefs run. Hopefully my Commanders are able to do something now in the future, because bye-bye Dan Snyder. I think almost everything is rid of him except for the name, which some Easter eggs say something's coming soon. Also, finally, getting back to television shows. I think 4 of my favorite TV shows have their season premieres in the next week. So I'm going to be in sports and TV mode, college basketball and TV shows.
Yeah, I know. Now that the NFL is done with for the year, it's, oh, shoot, college basketball is going on for those who haven't tuned in all season. Final word for me is don't doubt greatness and appreciate it while it's here. You've heard me say a bunch of times that right now, if you're a KU fan, a KU basketball fan, you are living in the good days, so appreciate it. That's the same thing if you're a Chiefs fan. These are the good days. Love them forever. Appreciate them forever. We're back tomorrow from 2 until 6. For Dan, for Spencer, I'm Brendan. Thank you for listening to this Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk.